Welcome, folks.
Oh my god! Go.
Wait,
What happened?
No.
Oh. Oh, it was messed up for a second.
Yeah.
All right, welcome, folks, to Advantage in Paradise, and for temporarily a little bit of our Discord chat. Tonight is another episode of Advantage in Paradise where some of us are dressed up a little bit for Halloween. I was gonna paint my whole face blue, but I decided not to because there wasn't enough time. But I am an elf character that will be a NPC tonight, maybe. Anyway, as per usual, our music is brought to us by licensing through soundstripe.com, and our lovely ambiance is brought to us by a combination of Sirenscape and Tabletop Audio. Now, without further ado, I'll turn it over to Shannon for some shoutouts for our partners.
Let's do it. Hello, everybody. Happy continued Halloween. Hope you are all excited as we are for tonight's episode. Before we get started, we would like to recognize our amazing partners, starting with Arcane Spectacles. They are the creator of beautiful spell trackers and other tabletop accessories. They have just launched new products in partnership with Eddie York, who I will talk about in just a moment. And they have mix and match dice vaults available now, which are so cute and so colorful. If you can get any color combination that your heart desires. So go check those out if you haven't yet. And if you decide to buy something, use the code PARADICE, PARADICE, for 10% off in their Etsy shop. Next, we have Talon and Claw, the creator of gorgeous wooden tabletop accessories like DM screens, dice vaults, dice, etc. You will often hear us rolling our very own Talon and Claw dice. They roll very well, so if you would like to purchase your own, use the code PARADICE for 10% off your order in their Etsy shop. Next, we have the Underground Oracle Publishing. They are the creators of incredible D&D 5e supplements. Our lovely Cal uses the Prongs of the Black in our campaign, and we are so excited to incorporate even more of their amazing creations. Make sure to sign up for their Patreon and their Discord if you haven't already. Last but not least, we have Eddie York, who is the original character artist for Paradice. He worked with Alex to make the character cards. He made the Wayward 5 page, and he drew all of our heroes and brought them to life. And I actually am dressed based on his art this evening. So thank you, Eddie, for all of your amazing, amazing work. Be sure to check him out on Twitter, Instagram, and Patreon. And with that, back to you, DM.
Thank you very much, Shannon. All right, folks. Let's get into some D&D tonight. So, this is going to be somewhat of a Halloween episode. We will be exploring some spooky things and maybe some psychological horror. So, content warning there. Might get gory and or a bit psychological. But
What does that mean?
I don't know.
We'll never know, Tim.
Never know. Once you guys are just like, forget it, we're gonna go back to the forest.
Yeah.
There's a rumor this town up ahead is spooky. We should turn around.
I hear this town has a menu that's 10 miles long.
That's
And
the
the re-
psychological horror. We
Yeah,
get
the
trapped
rest-
in the Groundhog Day of just ordering food.
Yeah, the rest of the session is just me reading the menu and you all waking up every morning trying a new item on that menu. But anyway. Last we met, the Wayward Five found themselves trapped between their destination and where they were on the road northeast to Caradolin. The crossroad ahead of them was blocked by what appeared to be an elder copper wyvern with large copper wings with the teal oxidation coloring across its spines all along its neck as it feasted upon the corpses of several travelers who had been ambushed by bandits. Now, this hulk of a creature blocked the fork in the road that led to the two paths to Caradolin, their destination. One that went to Summerlinden and one to Coors Creek. As they prepared for their next attack, or for how they were going to deal with this large creature, Cal and Curon, and Timber began sneaking forward to join Scarlet and Wiswick, who were trapped, or not so much trapped, but hiding behind a rock watching the creature. Wiswick was beginning to prepare a spell as Scarlet was looking back, waiting for her companions to join. It was at this point that a loud clamor was heard as their allies had made some missteps, and a loud noise echoed out as Cal fell forward a little bit into the exposed area after Curon had bumped into him. And made direct eye contact with the Wyvern, which at this point, having seen them, Cal saw no other option but to engage. And as he began rushing forward, sword drawn, to clash with this draconid beast, Wiswick popped up from the rock, cast a advanced and alchemically enhanced polymorph. And as this ferocious, blood-covered fanged beast roared at Cal, he ran towards it screaming as it suddenly bloop, turned into a toad and fell to the ground, hopping aggressively towards Wiswick. So, the Wayward Five avoided conflict with the large lizard through clever spellcraft, though they were not out of the woods yet, as Wiswick immediately began playing with this toad and picked it up and wanted to keep it. And you debated for a little while what to do with the toad before deciding upon leaving it behind, as Wiswick took one look back at the toad, angrily hopping towards him. As it tried to still attack you, you slowly made your way on the northeast path, the left-hand path of the fork towards Summerlinden. You passed through some farm and countryside as the road began to ascend upward, and you could see that there was somewhat of a cliffside to your right, flanked by large fields of farmlands. For several hours, you marched on this somewhat boring path, passing a few folk here and there, a few houses on the sides of the road, until you eventually met a small crossroad that that split into the farmland and further northeast. It was here that Wiswick met a very entrepreneurial young man, Brian the courier, who was sitting getting ready to go on his courier run with his mailbag by the one watchtower in this small crossroad with a small bell at the top made of a wooden frame. Wiswick immediately began engaging with Brian, telling him fun stories. Brian was wildly entertained by Wiswick, his stories. The rest of you got your horses and carts set up in the stables and decided where you would rest for the evening. Most of you opting to sleep outside in Curon's Ilyavania's tiny hut for the sake of safety and sticking together, while Wiswick and Cal took the room in the lovely tiny inn known as the Blissful Fisher Inn. But the two most important things you learned here were that Summerlinden is a strange town. Brian had often gone through it, delivering packages and messages as a courier, and he said he never stayed there because the people always seemed unfriendly and no one would allow him to stay with them. He would always sleep on the outskirts of the town, and as he did so, he would hear strange things at night. But every time he got close to the wrought iron of the town, there seemed to be no one on the streets. He would often either stay on his own on the road, or he would stay with a figure known as Jack, who was the gravekeeper of the graveyard outside of Summerlinden, who he recommended to Wiswick to touch base with, and that he would show him around or at least give him some hospitality. You also learned that there was that there is an alchemist in Sumerlinden named Prim. They are the alderman's alchemists, the alderman being the leader of the town. Particularly noting that Prim was looking for wyvern guts, and that there was somewhat of a bounty out for the elder wyvern who chose not to fight. Wiswick ended his conversation with Brian with a few jokes before Robert took his place, handing off a package to Brian to be sent off to his family after Cal had paid him his gold wages for the month, or for half the month. Once inside, you all shared a nice meal together, learned that Wiswick's favorite food was guinea pig with lemon crema, and had a somewhat pleasant evening.
Timber's favorite.
Timbers, sorry, not Wiswick's. Wiswick's is flatfish. But you continue to... Oh, you also learn that Scarlet doesn't like taste. Scarlet doesn't like good food.
I believe she was basically like, yeah, the more gray and mush, the better.
So
that
she
is right.
Very much enjoyed the very plain vegetables you were eating. But anyway, you moved onward the next morning on the northeastern road, and for the most part had a somewhat safe journey until towards the end of our session, where you encountered on the road ahead a pack of zombies, a pack of undead that Kieran had seen, or more importantly had heard in the distance. Upon closer inspection, you saw these were unlike the fungal undead that you'd encountered in previous moons. These were more wood and stone and root than flesh, and bone as well. You saw that there were a few of them, and then there was one large one that seemed an amalgam of limbs and put together flesh, with a single mare skull at the top with antlers and several markings carved into the bone. You snuck your way back and then began slowly sneaking forward. The zombies were alerted to your presence and began to slowly clamber down, although eventually they began to run faster and faster, not the slow, shambling undead that you've encountered before, and battle ensued. You took out these creatures and were able to investigate their remains. There's little, if any, flesh truly about them, other than some bones and vital organs within the rib cages that seemed to be the core of whatever construct these were. They were more construct than really undead. But most peculiar about them were the markings upon the skulls. Standing out most was a spiraled circle, much like the symbol of the Pallid King you've seen before, as well as several triskelions and other runic sigils. You sat for a while to think about this as you began to wonder if whatever is going on in Sumerlinden may have something to do with the broader theories you have about the Pallid King. And as you prepared to move onward, our internet crapped out. But we did have technical issues last time, but we were close to the end of that session anyway. So, Wayward 5, you are currently on the road. You have just defeated these zombies and investigated their bodies. I believe Kieran had the last word, surmising that whatever's happening in Sumerlinden might have something to do with the Pallid King.
I think whatever's happening in Sumerlinden might just have something to do with the Pallid King.
So what do you guys think? I mean, if the whole town is like this, it might be like really dangerous. Like maybe we should sneak around.
Let's not assume somebody would have known. Brian would have known something.
Yeah, that's
right?
true. But I mean, this must be recent. Otherwise, he wouldn't have he would have said something about it, right? Like, it's not. He was in the town before. He just didn't stay in the proper. area.
Well, I think that that's a bold, logical conclusion. I think that's quite the jump, and I don't think it's. You know what? You're right. It can't hurt to go cautiously. Actually, I have no argument against that.
Wiswick,
I don't think the whole town is like this.
Did you share with us what Brian said about Sumerlinden?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I relayed all that information.
All right, cool. Well, do you think we should go through it at night, given all that we've heard about it?
I mean,
Sometimes it's at night when we're at our strongest. Kieran says,
Also, wait,
knowing
what
that,
time is it?
that he can fly it when it's night out.
Maybe for you.
And you, Miss Stealth Assassin.
And
That's
I
true,
also
that's
agree
true.
with kind of Kieran.
Sean, what time is it right now?
Yeah, I was just gonna get to that. It's early afternoon. You're about 5 or 6 hours away from Sumerlinden.
Yeah. Okay.
guys, I mean, I know you all really like the darkness and stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan too, but do we really want to wait till nighttime to go check out the graveyard? I mean,
Well,
No,
problem
we're
is
not
it's
gonna-
take us.
We're not
It's
gonna
gonna
wait.
take us 6 hours. It'll be sunset by the time we get there.
Correct. We're not gonna wait.
So
We're
our
just gonna keep
choices
moving.
are move down the road. Our choices are arrive in Sumerlinden at night or camp nearby and we'll get there in the morning. That's pretty much the options, as far as I can tell. So I say we just head out for now. If we see anything more concerning, we act then, yeah?
This
Just
is
keep our eyes
also-
out for more of those zombies.
What's the origin of the word zombie? You ever think of that? I say as we start to move.
Kieran responds about this tale of voodoo magics from Western Africa and their Creole.
I know what the actual origin of the word zombie is. I was looking for an in-universe explanation, Stefan.
That's why I keep trying
Oh.
to say undead instead of zombie. Okay. So you are moving onward, planning on just continuing through or stopping sometime before reaching Sumerlinden.
Yeah, we're gonna get close. Let's just get to where we can see the town, and we'll make a decision then.
Okay. So you begin heading out on the road. It continues in this, kind of hilly, small valley between the very young forests around that are, quite easy to see through because they're not too overcrowded. What is your marching order?
last?
Kieran will be,
I'll be up towards the
leading,
front. Yeah, I'll be up with Kieran.
keeping an eye out.
In the middle.
Cal?
Usually I'm up front with Kieran, but somebody just stole my spot, so I guess I'll.
I mean, you can be
Anywhere.
up here too. You can be up here too. I'm not telling you not to be up
The
here.
road is wide enough for 3 of you to be up there.
No.
The
no,
road is
no.
wide enough for us. To be
I'll
up here
take rear guard then.
Okay.
Such a child.
I don't hear that on purpose.
On purpose. All right, so Cal, you have the rear with Wiswick, the timber, and the cart is in the middle.
If I didn't already, mage armor.
Yeah, I think you did last session, so I think you're good.
If I didn't already, Vigilant Blessing.
Sure.
If I didn't say it already, Sean, you're doing a great job.
Ah,
All right,
Yes,
everyone,
I did.
get out all of your your expressions. Okay, so it's like I said last week. It's it's in the low 80s. So it's not as bad as the previous journey, but you're still a little tired and sweaty, and it's uncomfortable. You just finished this fight. Did you take any of the pieces of the zombies, or did you leave? You took the
Kieran
skull,
did.
right?
Yeah, Kieran took anything within reason that was marked.
Okay, excellent.
I think it was like the 2 pieces of the skull that we put together and it made the symbol of.
Yeah, because the
Paladin,
skull had
right?
been split when whoever
Yeah.
got the killing blow on the, which I believe was Scarlet.
Kieran would have just picked up a few of the other pieces, some of the roots and whatnot, if they were marked.
Yeah, absolutely. There would have definitely been other little talismans. None of the bodies would have not had something that had these
Right.
marks on it, whether it was bone, stone, or root. Okay. So in that sense, I'll say you have 6 pieces of druidic undead paraphernalia.
Love me some paraphernalia.
Druidic
Um,
Undead Perfect, also known as the DUP.
Yes, the DUP. It's my band.
Good acronym.
Dup.
Dup. Hello, we're Dup, and we're here to.
Go to the Dup show tonight.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I really like this one song played by the Dub.
Anyway.
Hey,
So you're passing through. It's getting later and later. The forests are starting to get. The sides of the cliffs around you are starting to get higher and higher. As you're moving through this pass, it seems that it's. It seems like this road floods often, so you can find there's a lot of erosion pushing the sides away, and the cobblestones are looser and looser as you're moving through. 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hours. Would anyone like to do any perception checks? All right, go ahead and roll if you are perceiving.
Does the bat count?
Sure.
Tipper's gonna be listening.
Dirty 20.
11.
A whopping 13.
23.
27.
Show off.
What Jet get?
11.
Ilyvania.
Represent.
Represent.
Ilyvania.
All right, so yep, Ilyvania symbols. Okay, folks.
And that's how they pray. That's how they praise to her too. Ilyvania.
Oh.
Sorry. Oh. Sorry.
This version of Kieran that he's cosplaying as.
Yes, this is his alternate skin.
Alternates. Yeah. Sorry. Continue. Sorry, Sean.
Anything else?
Boo.
Joke.
All right, so you're heading through, and it's becoming more and more rocky. You do hear, in the distance the sounds of. Suddenly, the peaceful bird song is broken by this sound of swords clashing. Upon most likely, it's not swords clashing like 2 swords fighting, it's swords clashing into something. You could safely presume there's maybe more of these zombies ahead attacking someone. Probably about, from what Kieran, I'd say with your higher roll, you can tell they're probably still pretty far away though, but the sound is just echoing through this small canyon. They're probably at least 200, 250 feet away in the kind of windingness of this, but they sound like they're on the road.
Kieran, upon hearing it, turns towards his companions and goes, "A fight ahead! Quickly, we must go to assist them! Rocco, yeah!" And he rides forth.
So you all see Kieran immediately, full speed, galloping forward after saying a fight ahead of us. What do you all do? Do you follow?
Cal Hiaz after him.
I hear first, so I'm close.
And you know
So-
what? Your Hia was better. I'll say Kieran heard it versus Cal's.
Actually, I rolled a 23 on my perception roll, so
Cal actually spent some time.
I
thinking
heard it
about
first. Sorry, I'm just being a fuck.
Well, Timber, you can't hear because you're just a wolf.
I will
I think
Hia
Hia
as
himself.
my own legs, okay?
Wiswick goes, mush!
So you all, in your own time and at your own rate, Hia yourselves or mush yourselves forward as you begin galloping ahead. The cart does not. You see Robert just sort of nods at you all, as you all pass. He will catch up. Embla staying behind with him just because him and Rocky shouldn't be alone.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, so then, Stefan, Kieran would get there first. Everyone pretty much get there right after him. What you see ahead of you as you're moving, kind of twisting through these rocks, you kind of like at a point like Rocco kind of like almost like skids into one of the walls as the road is starting to narrow. and you get to a point where you can see about 100 feet ahead. The road starts to straighten out, and you can see there are 3 armed guards who are fighting off what looks like at least 10 of these zombies, these rooted zombies. We're gonna theater of the mind this, but it's 100 feet away. It's a very tight, packed space. So there's these 3 guards who are at the smallest spot, essentially holding off a cluster of 10 of these creatures that are kind of pushing themselves up against them. You do see as you're approaching an arrow fling over, so you know there's at least one other guard or someone who's shooting arrows into the crowd of zombies as well. So it's a straight line to them at this point. The sides of the cliff are about I'd say 20 feet high. And you don't see any zombies above up there. You only see the 10 that are there and a few corpses of already fallen zombies. So let's roll initiative.
So just to clarify, is it, so it's us, then the zombies, then the guards, or are they okay?
Correct. Yes, it's you all, the zombies, and then the guards.
Cool.
All right. 20 to 25.
20.
21. Plus 4?
Hey.
I rolled a natural 20 plus 1.
Oof. All right. Well, I mean, I want to give it to you because you got the nat.
No, you can go first. It's fine. I mean, you should let me go first because I'm gonna do something cool if Sean lets me.
Do it.
Well, I'll say the natural. I'll just say the natural 20 goes first. Actually, what are your no, whatever
His
you
is
want.
plus 4, mine's plus 1.
Okay, then Wiswick goes first. But what did you guys actually get? 21.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got a
Okay,
20
and-
though.
Okay, cool. All right, so we got Wiswick first. Then we've got Kieran, Timber. 15 to 20. 10 to 14.
11.
Cal, what'd you get?
7
Okay.
with a plus 5.
Ooh. I rolled a 2 as
Ooh.
well. But I have plus 9.
Holy guacamole.
Oh, wow, these wait, Cal, what did you actually get? You got a 12?
7.
Oh, with okay. I thought that you were saying 7 plus 5. Okay.
No, a 2.
No.
A shoe.
No.
1, a shoe, a shoe.
Oh, right. All right, so Wiswick, you're up first. These from where you are, these guards fighting are about 120 feet away.
Are they like in combat currently with zombies?
Oh yeah, they're literally it's like Spartan hot gates where there's like 3 of them that are just kind of shields and short swords pushing back these zombies that are clawing at them in this tighter space.
Any
They-
big
John.
one?
Yeah.
Real quick, did the amount of travel we've been doing on horses, is that long enough to count as a short rest or no?
I would say that you could have short rested during that time. You could have taken a break at some point.
Okay. Well, I was assuming just by virtue of not having to move, but sure.
Yeah.
For
Let's just say you
me-
can have a short rest during that time.
Cool. That matters for me, so cool.
Okay. Say that again, Wiswick.
Are all the zombies similar to what we fought before, or are there any like jumbo zombies like last time?
These ones look like just the plain wicker ones, and no amalgams, no hulking forms, just the humanoid shaped ones.
Okay, we're gonna use an alchemical casting magic missiles, so we're only gonna shoot 3 level 1 magic missile, but I get to add a d10 to the damage because I'm using an extra spell slot. And we're gonna have 3 darts go to 3 different zombies, and we're changing it to radiant damage.
Okay.
We got a 1 on the 4 and a 5 on the 10, so that's 6 plus 1 is 7. 7 damage to 3 zombies.
Okay. Okay. Cool. I'm treating these zombies as a swarm.
Okay.
So That is 21 damage then total to this swarm of zombies.
Cool. As they see, like, across the hill, like, 3 streaks of light arc in a very high arc, and then, like, spear down from the skies upon 3 of the poor bastards.
Yeah, those of you riding in front would see this almost volley of light arrows flying.
Once
over
again, any world where there's magic, warfare is immediately World War One.
Yes, very true. All right, so the Wiswick's magic missile volley has launched and dealt 21 damage to the swarm of zombies. Curon, you are up. Timber, you're on deck.
So horseback movement. What how does that work? Go over this with me again. I'm a DM. I should know this, but I don't give.
The horse moves independently of you, so you
Okay.
can. The horse can move their 60 feet, and then
Sure.
if you wanted to, you could get off and move 30 feet.
A horse doesn't dash, does it?
Horse can dash.
Okay. Does that count as an action for me?
Action for the horse.
Okay. So horse. Rocco will carry Curon forward the full 120 feet.
Okay.
Well, actually, I'll say we're gonna stop him 20 feet from it, as you know he's going in. Curon's got his glaive out, riding in, takes out his reliquary, and as Rocco comes into like the 20 feet, Curon will hop off, run the last 20, hold up his reliquary, and channel some divinity to what's it called? Turn undead or destroy undead if their CR is 1 or lower.
And what's the range on that?
30 feet, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And it's whatchamacallit, wisdom save, DC.
Unless they're 1 or less and they auto fail, right? Or do
I don't
they
know
still
if they
roll?
auto fail. I think they still roll. Yeah,
it's either they
fail.
turn and be frightened, or they just
Or the
die if they're CR 1 or lower.
Yeah, correct.
But what I wanted to know is if they auto fail if they're 1 or
No,
lower.
they
No,
never
no.
auto fail.
Oh, okay, cool.
They
All
always get sham.
right, let me just roll this out. What's the DC again?
16
And it's what kind of
wisdom.
nice. Okay.
Zombies are wise.
Are they?
They're not wise.
I've once learned.
How do you want to kill 8 out of 10 of these zombies?
No, it's literally So Rocco charges in with Kira on his back. He does that elven thing where he like kind of stands up a little, and then as Rocco like skids a little to stop because there's a horde of undead constructs in front of him, Curon just lightly jumps off the saddle, runs the last 20 feet, and as he gets into their back line, just holds down and then throws up his reliquary, the stone, the moonlight shatters out and just destroys 8 of these mofos.
And you know what I'll say actually, because I was treating it as a swarm, I'll say that Wiswick's magic missiles had killed 2 out of the 10, so this was just finishing them off.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
All right, so you're all rushing forward, and you've seen Curon's reliquary come out. You've seen the power of Ilyvania through him, but you've never seen him this effective against undead.
Wow, what are you trying to say there, boss?
No, I mean this is a very
I
strong
know.
power they haven't seen, because when there were undead around, you didn't have
I
this.
forgot about it.
Or forgot about it.
I didn't have it.
So Curon rushes forward on Rocco. He slides off the saddle. The reliquary does that thing where the wood shatters out, and the core of shard of Ilyvania shines through, and beams of moonlight fling from it, piercing through the zombies at first, and then blinding the entire 30 feet around. As you see the guards putting their shields up to hide their faces, as the bright light rips these undead apart, as you see bits of root, singed root and stone collapse to the ground, any flesh completely vaporized from these undead creatures. As the rest of you kind of come skidding up, pulling your horses horse's back, seeing the job is done.
Nice one.
Kieran looks back over and just kind of like waves. He then turns to the guards and go, "Are you all right? Is everything okay?"
You see they drop their shields, and they're very simply armored. These are no plate guards. You know, they've got leather cuirasses and small leather caps and very, not well taken care of swords and shield, as they're just like, oh, by the 9, that was impressive.
I'm sorry, by the what, Sean?
By the what? Yeah.
Yeah, by the 9.
Oh. Okay.
All right.
You would know what that means. It's not a very. It's something that's very uncommon anywhere else in the Quintarchy, but Summerlinden, which is the original faith in the Conservator gods, which did not have any specific where it's like we just worship the Conservator gods. We don't just specifically worship the Everflame or anything like that.
We're definitely not talking about Xenophar, the god of work and commerce.
By the 9 divine, you did it.
Okay. Moving on. Cal would write up at this point.
Yeah, Kieran's gonna be like, "That was the work of the blessed Crescent Heart, but it is my pleasure to bring safety to you all. Are you hurt? Do any of you need healing?"
Well, you came just in time. And he kind of this guard looks around and to the two next to him and just says, "I think the 3 of us are all right, but he might need help." As he looks back and points to the archer that you didn't see before, who's shooting, who is standing over what looks like another guard who's grasping at his side. As you can see, his armor's been kind of ripped open, and some of his flesh underneath is exposed and very bloody.
Kieran will go over to provide some healing. First level cure wounds. He gets 11 health back.
Nice.
Sean, did the zombies just evaporate?
Just the flesh portions. So like any heart or any leftover undead flesh, that evaporated, vaporized. But any of the wood or root or stone that was part of the wicker creature is there. It's just singed.
Got it.
While Kieran is doing the healing, I would talk to the guards that were in the line.
Timber would be next to Cal at this point as a wolf.
Yeah.
And Scarlet is just behind them. She's not looking for conversation, but she's not totally all the way back yet.
Yeah.
I would dismount because I'm not a jerk.
All right.
Guardsman, you're from Summerlinden, yes?
Oh yeah. No, we patrol the outer roads from the town.
This is the second group of these things we've ran into today. How frequently do they come near the town like this?
Well, there's been increased activity. We've seen them before, but not. They usually come this close. They usually get as close as a couple miles out of town, but they don't come to town. So we don't usually have to deal with them. We usually just have to clear them out. But they're never usually in these numbers.
You said you've dealt with them before? How long has your history with these constructs been?
Well, undead are not entirely uncommon within this shire, but not this plentiful. You know, there are those witches of old who tamper with undeath constructs, but never to this number. It's only increased this much. What would you say? Yeah, probably a couple weeks, maybe, or a little more than that. Oh wait, no. You don't know. I've been on the on this patrol for much longer than you. They don't know these monsters have been here and increasing in numbers for months.
And other than the patrols, is the alderman doing anything about it?
Lady Linden has been seen in a little while.
Your alderman's missing?
Not missing. We know exactly where she is. She's fucking in the manor. Hasn't come out. No one's seen her.
Sean?
Yeah.
Did he say she's fucking in the manor or she's fucking in the manor?
Comma.
This actually is important information if we're coming in here.
I think you can presume which one I meant.
I
Harlot!
actually can't.
She's in the fucking manor.
Okay, thank you. Okay. And she, good lord, so who's in charge then?
Well, the only one who sees her is the alchemist, Prim. She stops in at least once a day, I presume. Any messages that must go are usually given to Prim. But I don't know. We've been out on the road patrolling for the last 2 weeks, so I'm not so sure what's going on in Linden. We've been staying in the outer barracks.
Interesting.
This prim tongue, you said, that speaks for your alderman.
What?
Primthorn.
Even Cal goes, what?
Primthorn.
Primthorn. I don't know.
I didn't even say her last name.
Yeah, he didn't.
It's okay. It's okay. Primthorn. Yeah. She's a alchemist been the alchemist for a while for the Linden family. Say about 20 years.
How long has Lady Linden been the alderman around here?
Since her husband died. That must have been about 20 years ago.
Oh. Wow. I say.
like you see this guard had a moment where he went, never thought about this.
And what were your names? Are they gentle folk?
Yeah. They're all human men.
Okay. What are your names, gentlemen?
Oh well, the main one you've been talking to seems to be more of the leader amongst these three.
Sure, that's fine.
Edric. This is Blythe. That's Shelley. And this is Henley with the bow. Shelley's the one who had his guts spilled out of him that Kieran healed.
I nod to all of them. And say, well, thank you, Sergeant. I say, even if he isn't a sergeant. Anything else that we should know about Summer Linden before we get there?
You're heading at now.
That's where it's in our path, on our way, for sure.
I mean, well, up a couple of miles up the road, you'll find the graveyard, the abbey, and old Jack's hut. And then a couple of miles past that, you'll find Summer Linden. I mean, folks aren't quite friendly to outsiders there. There might be some room in the tavern, but if you're heading there, I'd head there quick. People don't like it when others are out after dark.
Oh, is there a curfew in place?
Yeah, I'd say something like that.
You'd say something like that?
If you're there, when you're out, I'd recommend staying with old Jack.
I'd like to give him the look my father gave a servant he thought was lying.
It'd be an intimidation roll.
Thank you. It's like a raised eyebrow and just like steely, like emotionless eyes, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, that ain't bad, Sean.
Brought to you by Talon and Claw.
It's not good enough for a plug.
Oh.
It's a 15 because I have
Never
a
mind.
+1 to that. So
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a curfew. There's a curfew. The alderman put the curfew in, well, shortly before she stopped showing up outside. Lady Linden put the curfew in when all these zombie folk, these creatures, whatever they are, started to grow in numbers.
But the creatures never came to the town.
Just don't be out after dark. Just find somewhere to stay.
Do you guys live in Sumerlinden?
We do. Right now, we ain't staying there though.
I asked
Staying
that at the
in the outer
beginning. I
barracks.
say.
Where are you guys staying? Near
We
the
stay in the outer
graveyard? Or?
barracks. Yeah, it's near the barracks, or it's near the graveyard. Yeah.
Is there any room for travelers there?
Not really in the barracks, mate. It's kind of small. It's not meant for guests. But Jack usually has some. He's usually pretty hospitable to travelers. You could stay with him, or if you get into town, a reasonable hour, maybe you can find a room at the tavern.
Well, thank you, gentlemen.
Hold on. I heard these rumors that weird stuff happens after curfew hours in Sumerlinden. I met this courier. He was a nice bloke. He told me about some weird noises that he heard when he stayed at Jack's place. Do you guys know anything about that?
Some teenagers playing pranks, I think. Trying to scare folks around these time of year. Like I said, not much happens after dark. Timber.
Sean, I'd like to go over to one of the two zombies that are dead from not Huron, and I'd like to get just a good whiff of their rotten flesh, just so I can kind of memorize their what it smells like.
Gross.
Yeah,
Gross.
yeah, totally. Just give me a quick, let's say nature check, but you can use wisdom instead of intelligence.
Ooh, thank you. That's a natural 20. So that's 23.
Yay.
Oh, yeah, you know this smell now.
Do these bodies have any markings as similar to the other ones, I assume, but do any of them specifically have the Pallid King's mark?
You notice any time that there's like a imposed skull of some kind onto the body, there is the pallid spiral that is added to the center of the skull, on the forehead.
All right, might take one of those just to have a complete one.
Yeah, you could definitely get a complete one. There. The guard stops for a moment as you may be starting to leave, and he does look to Cal, and kind of combined with all of this, he goes up to Cal and just says, kind of whispering in hushed tones so that the other guards don't hear him. And mate, if you're out after dark, just you see lights, stay away.
Well, thank you, Sergeant. I say. I look at his eyes to see if he's serious, and if he is, which sounds like it.
It's a very different face than before.
Yeah.
Like when he was talking about the curfew, they were talking very much kind of like, it's whatever, things are happening. Like when you questioned it, they did get tense, but they were mostly like, it's whatever, it's fine.
Right.
At this point, he's very serious.
Well, then I would look at his eyes, skeptical at first, and then like agree with him, facially, expression wise, and I would say, "Thank you, Sergeant," and then I would shake his hand and palm him. There's four of them. There's four of them.
Yeah.
I would palm him 4 gold.
pocket the 4 gold and nod to you. And just say, appreciate it, sir.
Take care of yourself out here, boys. I hope to see you again on the way back.
Safe travels to the lot of you. Just make sure you get somewhere before dark. Minkus gives you a nod.
Well, we better hurry up if we're gonna get to the graveyard.
I sense a conspiracy at work here.
Agreed. It sounds like this alchemist arrived, the Lord died, the lady took over, and now she's been either somehow disposed of or otherwise taken out of the picture.
Right.
I was thinking more grand picture. Perhaps she's got some sort of cult that only comes out at night and summons dead spirits or something like that. Or maybe the town's filled with werewolves and they all hunt at night. Who knows?
When we're far enough away from the guards, Sean,
Yeah.
I would say, well, the sergeant did lean in to me at the end there and warn me that if we see lights in the evening or after the sun goes down, we should never follow them, and we should be careful.
Sounds like will-o-wisp.
Hmm.
We've encountered them before.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I
whatever it
can-
is, we're definitely in for some tense evening for the next day, or well, preferably less than a day, but you understand on our pacing.
Yes, it seems like
So be careful.
we should do our investigations earlier tomorrow morning and just
Agreed.
take their advice for today. At least until we know
agreed.
more.
So, you begin to move on up the road. You feel a sense of danger and just ominousness because it is sunset now, and you're like, you don't see the graveyard yet.
Yeah.
As you're moving, and it's this feeling as you all kind of like slowly like pick up your pace a little as you see the sun go down below the hills, and you're just in that pre-dusk where you can still see some of the light, but the sky itself is dark blue.
I
As you
believe this
see,
is what they call the twilight hour, where Ilyvania is strongest.
and as you keep approaching,
Is Ilyvania crepuscular?
I'm sorry?
Is she
I'm not
crepuscular?
familiar. I'm not
Oh,
familiar
it's,
with this common word.
Relating to either dusk or dawn, but not day or night.
Yes, she guards the change, if you will, from
Oh yeah,
light to
so
dark.
she's crepuscular. I say self-satisfied.
an old Enduran word.
No, that's a real word.
No, I
Please
know it's
don't
a real
speak
word.
about
I'm
my
saying
goddess that way.
language of origin in this world. Etymology
Anything
in this
fancy,
world.
Not-
it's a dirt.
Yeah, anything remotely scientific and Dern. Anyway, and at a certain point, you start to see down the road. The hills start to close down a little bit, become smaller and smaller. You can see off in the distance, probably like a good 1.5 miles, 2 miles away. You can see the edge of town, and then you can see that you can start to see the chimney stacks. You start to see, yeah, you see timber, not timber, but you see timber frame homes behind this wrought iron fencing that's all around the town with a wrought iron gate in the front. And to your left, as you see this, the side of the road opens up, and you see there is a cart there with a like a push wagon with a young boy holding the cart, kind of leaning to the side against a stone wall. Young boy appears to be he has red skin, and his hair is bright orange and shaven very close, but very sloppily, like he's cut it himself. He's wearing very, very common clothes that look like they haven't been washed in a while. And he's just leaning to the side, holding onto the handle of a pushcart that is filled with rocks and stones. And as you come around the corner, you can see there's a man there who is tall and strongly built. In the words of Tim about most male characters, traditionally attractive. He's got these very long horns coming back and curling behind the ears. Blue skin, hair swept back, but kept fairly short. And he has these very bright orange eyes. As he's slowly taking heavy rocks off, and you see him literally placing them on top of graves, like where the bodies would be underneath in their shawls or in their caskets. He is putting rocks over that. As you can see, the graveyard now it's not massive, but it is substantial enough where there's a fog as you look through it, leading up to the abbey, that you can see is in the center towards the back. Several, probably about 100 feet away. And the graveyard itself is probably 200 feet wide. Yeah.
Do they use tombstones as
Yes.
grave markers?
Yes.
Like traditional
tombstones, yeah.
Looking at the graveyard, are there any places where there aren't rocks placed yet that looks like something might have crawled out of the ground?
Yes. Yes, you do see that in
Oh.
a few places. Or at the very least, yeah, you see disrupted earth at certain grave markers. And you can see a slight smokestack from the opposite side of the graveyard, probably behind the abbey that you see there, of just smoke from a pile that seems to have been just recently burned. Sorry, Timber.
Having seen some of this, Timber would be on the lookout or the smell out for some rotten flesh.
Okay.
That's better.
So I mean, you definitely get just the residual smell of whatever is been burned there, as well as the residual smell on the open tombs. But nothing as strong as the entities that you saw on the road.
Okay.
But this is the graveyard. In addition to that, the abbey that you see, which is very much like a stone mausoleum-like shape. It has a stained glass dome on the ceiling of it. It's probably about 40 feet tall, 30 feet wide. Very simple stonework, but very, very old stonework. You can see it's very weathered and worn, and in certain places is some thick ivy growing all across it. But as you go ahead.
Wiswick, I think, kind of just wants to stay on his horse and go up to the people and be like,
Hey, what the hell do you think you're doing?
You see the boy kind of not scared of you, but just sort of you're at your aggressiveness, and the tiefling gentleman stands up tall, kind of wipes his hands off, and just says, "Oh yes, well, I'm not sure if you've seen anything on the roads, but there's some danger around these parts when it comes to unprotected corpses, one might say. We've had several grave robbings over the last month, and well, this is one way to protect against it, and we've had a few other incidents." And he nods over to one of the graves that doesn't look like it was dug up, but rather like something had crawled out of the ground.
Yeah, I don't know if the rocks are gonna do it, friend. The ones that we came up against were made out of that stuff. It was stone and branches. You might want to try a different method of blocking or defending these graves, I think.
Hi, we're the Wayward Five. You're Jack, right?
Yes, my name's Jack. I tend to this graveyard.
Pleased to meet you. I'm Cal. This is Wiswick, I say, gesturing to the other one who's interrogating this poor man.
Oh, well, it's a pleasure to meet you. If I had seen you on the road and wasn't busy, I would have gladly have welcomed you to our humble shire. But
Yeah,
So,
Wiswick scratches the back of his head and says,
Yeah, sorry for coming on strong. I thought you were like being suspicious.
oh. Well, I'm a bit used to that, but regardless, welcome. Huxley, you better get home. There you go. And you see he pulls out a few silver and hands it to the boy and nods him off to leave. He kind of just like pockets it and backs away, kind of scratching the back of his head, like looking like at you. But then also you see him look up at the sky, and you see him literally just turn around and just start running back towards the town. Go ahead.
A mutual friend of ours, a lad named Brian, pointed us in your direction. He said that you were the man to talk to around town here.
Oh, and you see he kind of has taken over the push cart after Huxley leaves and starts to push it back towards the abbey, and he kind of looks to each of you and just gives a hand gesture to come along. He says, "Oh yes, Brian. Brian, he's a good lad. A bit spacey, but he's always a reliable companion. Come along. You should probably come have some food at my home.
Oh no, we
probably
wouldn't.
not.
We wouldn't dare of putting you outdoors, as it were.
Well, let's just say you should probably be indoors soon.
I nod and dismount and walk my horse behind him. He's pushing this cart without difficulties, right?
Correct.
Yeah, cool.
As this is going on, Huron would have dismounted and started to inspect the graveyard. Kind of more of a magical inspection almost, or like a divine inspection. He's trying to sense if there's kind of evil stuff at work. And unfortunately, I can't double check this because it's in Xanathar's, but I think ceremony lets you sanctify areas, or that's sanctuary.
Ceremony.
Unfortunately, I don't really have resources to use without messing up this camera. And I apologize.
You can all. It's not. No, there's not really a. That's not part of ceremony. There is like funeral rite, which prevents a corpse from becoming undead for 7 days, but it's only one corpse.
Well, we're still gonna look over the burial grounds and try to see if we can get a sense for some kind of nefarious, bad things.
I think the spell you're thinking of is Hollow. Use Hollow an area. But anyway, yes. If you want to give me an investigation roll to just kind of investigate the opened areas, but also just the area in and of itself. Who's going along with Cal, with Jack towards his house? Timber? Okay. Wiswick?
I'm going to stay with Kieran.
Okay. Jack would call back to the cart as well and say, you can come as well. I've got a place where we can keep your cart back here, and I think I've got... I can make room for a lot of you to come for supper.
Only if it's not too much trouble.
No, nonsense. I often will give refuge to travelers or to wayward ones, as you say, wayward souls, wayward 5, whatever it was. The Summerlin is not very friendly.
We've heard rumors of that.
Yes, well, the people are paranoid often and distrustful. They don't like outsiders, even just from the next town over. But come along. He starts pushing onward again.
Kieran, what are you looking for?
That's just it. I don't quite know. He says with a 23 to investigation.
Okay, 23. Before I resolve that, I'll just, because it's not a very far walk, I'll tell you what the rest of you come upon. So you get closer to the abbey. where you can now see behind it a pile of bodies that have been burned. You see some of them are portions of bodies, but they're not the wicker zombies that you've seen. These are just straight corpses. So if they were undead, they were not of the construct variety, but of the necromantic variety. But Jack you see him push the stone cart to the side against one of the small stone walls of the cemetery, or graveyard. It is a graveyard, not a cemetery, because it does have the abbey there. Anyway, it's a very simple graveyard. The tombstones are very small and plain with just names on them. There are small stone walls separating the different sections. There's no like fencing on the stone walls. They're just very old hand piled stone walls. You do see some of the gravestones are incredibly old, where you can't even see the name anymore, and it pretty much just looks like a weathered rock that's been placed there. A lot of them have individual statues on them that are similarly weathered away, or very simple depictions of different entities. And as you approach the abbey, you can see, it looks very much like a mausoleum, and you can see 9 statues at the top above the entrance on the archway that are very weathered and simple. They seem almost like they're just all roughly humanoid. Some have elven ears, some don't. They all have one distinct feature, though, that you can't really make out, but you can tell they all have one variation. These are too weathered to really tell what they are. And then you see behind the abbey, in the back corner of the graveyard, there is a small home that is 2 stories. That's very simple timber frame home with shingled rooftop, and you can actually start to smell roast chicken coming from it, and you see some smoke coming out of a small chimney.
Is there a burial plot for the Linden family?
No. Say with the 23, you don't see anything that has the Linden name with a quick look over. So you're investigating the opened tombs, right, Kieran, or are you just generally investigating?
General investigation, but yeah, he would definitely be investigating those specifically.
Okay. So the opened tombs, you can see there are ones that you see that are quite literally someone definitely just dug up a body. Like you can, and they're like so much so that there's a cracked open casket at the bottom that you can see has just sort of like caked, rot in it, an old shawl that has been discarded, but no body. You see the ones that have been crawled out of have clear signs of something pushing through the earth. It clearly is not something that dug in, but something that pushed out. Think like when you see groundhog holes when they pop out, you can see that it's been piled up because of that.
Right.
And then you can clearly see like a dragging tracks on the ground where whatever it was sort of slowly pulled itself out. You see cartwheels. Something was doing cartwheels. No, you see quite literally cartwheels, like something had brought a cart up to this, up to this grave.
Like the tracks, you mean, right?
Thank you. Yes, cart tracks.
Yes, cart tracks. Looking at the drag marks out of the graves, do they look? I guess what I'm trying to say is, does it look like it's a regular corpse that dragged itself out, or one of these construct amalgamations? Would be able to tell.
That's a good question. You give me a nature check.
13.
Okay, just enough. So
Just enough.
it's one over just enough, but you're so smart. You see no signs of left behind wicker or root or stone, like nothing that indicates any of that those appendages off of those undead. And once you kind of, as you're moving through closer to the mausoleum and the shack in the back, you do see the body pile, and you can maybe connect that likely the things that are burning there are what came out of the ground. Scarlet, you're with him. Is there anything you want to do? Looking around.
She was gonna offer to help, but she doesn't really know how to help because he didn't really answer her question. So she's kind of just standing there. So he doesn't. So he's not by himself.
So Kieran would have like started to investigate all this and like follow around, and then at a certain point he would take out like a deerstalker cap and a pipe, chew on the end, and go, "Well, now you can see here that some of these were clearly dug up, whereas others looks like they crawled their way out. There seems to be some cart tracks here. They might be the same cart that our tiefling friend there was using. Well, seeing as there's bodies burning there, he might be trying to clear out any of these corpses before they reanimate."
That would make sense. Does it look like all of the bodies that are there match how many graves are open? Or are there more graves open than there are bodies? That's what I'll look at.
Give me an investigation roll.
Can Kieran help her
Yes,
as he's
I'll
also
allow
trying
it.
to
I'll
make
allow
that
it. Yes.
connection?
That is a 16.
16. Okay, and remind me, what you're looking to see if there's what?
If there's the same amount of bodies that there are open graves, or if there's more open graves than there are bodies.
All right, so I'd say you'd have to go over to the smoldering pile to kind of get a better idea of how many bodies are there.
I'm resistant to fire. It's fine.
Yeah. So I mean,
She just walks and picks up.
Just pick it up. Yeah.
As you're walking, you kind of are noticing. You're counting the graves as you're going that don't have stones over them. And then you get to the bodies, and while it's hard to get a clear number because some of this are pieces of bodies that are separated, so to speak, it's like it would be hard to be like, okay, there are 17 hands, but I don't know if there's 17 torsos. Well, there'd be more than that if there were 17, but or less than that.
I got you.
You can guess though that like roughly by the size of the pile that there is a somewhat of a correlation. You can't get a perfect match, but there seems to be roughly the same amount of bodies as there are opened graves.
Right. I had a thought, but I'm not sure it holds up anymore. I thought that maybe those zombies that we fought earlier, maybe somebody dug up these bodies, took them back to their workshop, fixed them up, and released them into the wild. But it seems that everyone's accounted for.
I had the same thought, but good work following through on that lead. Well, it could be possible that a few of them were reburied after the vital organs, because if you recall, a number of the undead constructs, if you will, it wasn't a full flesh and skin body. It was
That's true.
Bits and pieces. It might be worth asking the caretaker exactly what's happening. Shall we join the others?
Yes, let's go.
And we go.
As you are heading back, you kind of look up and notice that it's quite dark after your investigations.
Produce flame as we're walking.
Okay.
Shield my eyes because I have natural darkness.
You all have you pretty much had arrived there as the sun was setting under the horizon. So you two are outside at night right now.
Dum, dum, dum.
Everyone else is inside. When you step inside, you can see there's a very simple like dining room kitchen immediately when you walk in, where you can see there's this very old gentleman who's probably in his mid 80s. By the way, Jack looks like he's in his late 20s probably. This old gentleman is in his mid 80s. He has a very scruffy mustache with very poorly shaved beard. And just this very like this just bowl cut, essentially, of very, very fine, thin, blonde and gray hair. His eyes are so wrinkled that you can barely see them. He's got that jaw that's kind of seems like it's almost pushed up into his skull with how in that aged look of just. He's got a pipe hanging from his mouth that's sort of just cinders in there. That's not really burning any tobacco anymore. He's kind of just inhaling heat. And he's just you just see him whacking a butcher's knife down onto a freshly roasted chicken as he just sort of looks up. He's very tall even for his age. His back is hunched and he's 6 feet tall still.
Stay a while and listen.
As he's looks up at Jack and says, like, now I gotta do that. Jack, did you finish putting the stones on the graves? Dinner's about ready. As Jack looks to him and just says, yes, Frankel, we've finished putting the stones on and burning the bodies that we found. Welcome, everybody. This is my foster father, Frankel. He's used to be the caretaker here. He used to run the whole graveyard, but can't make the rounds quite as well as he used to. So I've taken over. And you see Frankel just sort of chews on his pipe a little bit, takes a big inhale and puffs out the last bit of smoke that can be inhaled from those tiny embers, and then takes it out and points it at him and says, I could do just fine, Jack. I could still take care of this place. I could lift you up right now if I wanted to. I could pick you up and throw you out on your ass, out for the night. Yeah, sure, Dad. All right, if you want, you can take a seat. I've got a few cots available, but I've also got plenty of pillows and blankets. Some of you might have to sleep on the floor, but I advise you stay with us tonight. We have plenty of food. We always prepare extra in case we have visitors.
Thank you, Jack, I say, and take him up on his offer.
Okay. So you all sit down around the table. You see Frankel kind of he looks to each of you as you sit down, having just realized you were there. He just didn't even pay attention to you or notice you when you walked in, and he's just like, more visitors. Always with the visitors, Jack. Always with the visitors. I have only so many chickens, Jack. Yes, Dad, but we've got enough for them tonight. As he kind of smiles to all of you.
Hey, Steph, stop fucking with your mic.
Yeah. Whatever you were moving there was moving your mic against your cosplay.
Oh, it's going through this?
Yeah.
Yeah, so touch it. Touch it some more, Kieran.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I would like to. I give him like a dirty look, the old man, when he stares at me for the first time. But I do sit down to dinner, and I want to say,
Well, we wouldn't want to put you out. We're very capable adventurers. I'm sure that once the morning comes, we can do some things to improve things around here. Perhaps I could help burn those bodies. It looked like you had a pretty big pile racking up there. I'm somewhat of a magic user myself, and I know a little bit about necromancy. Perhaps I could help you with that problem as well.
Just to clarify, is Kieran and Scarlet in this as well?
No, not yet. This is
Okay,
while you were counting graves and counting the bodies.
Timber rolls his eyes as a dog and then curls up in the ball in the corner.
So, speaking of, Wiswick did say that you had a bit of a large pile of bodies. Is this something that's newer, I hope, or has this been going on for a while?
You see Jack is coming over to you all with a pitcher and pouring mead into cups for each of you and handing them out, as he just says, Well, you know, we've had issues with grave robbing before. We've had issues with undeads, but very few. You hear Frankel kind of chiming up at this. He's, oh, that's nonsense, Jack. We've had problems with undead ever since I've lived here. There's always, around this time of year, there's always undead around. Well, with Dad, there's new ones here. There's new ones we haven't seen before. It's always around this time of year, some of our bodies go missing. Some punks out there robbing graves. Some of them come up alive, and I swear, Jack, I told you I've seen a witch before. Seen a witch before.
You have Frankel around here?
And you see Jack kind of rolls his eyes and takes a seat with his own cup of mead. He cough laughs for a while and like slowly walks over, like kind of hunched. You know, his head almost hits the a chandelier in the top before he's sort of naturally over the years has learned to very quickly dodge out of the way. But he doesn't walk around it. He always just dodges out of the way of it. As he sits down at the table and kind of claps his hands and runs them out on the table like he's prepping to tell a story. When I was a young man, younger than Jack here, I would walk these grounds with my father, make sure all the graves were protected. But then one night, Dad has to go into town, so I'm to make the rounds myself, protect against any grave robbers. It was around this time of year. We always have someone digging up someone. Or if it's a bad year, we've got someone coming out of the ground on their own. Business to do, I presume. Unfinished life. But I swear, I saw it. I saw a witch in the fog. Out in the woods, staring right at me. Tall, slender, cloaked entirely in black, coming all the way up and around her head. And a pale face, as pale as the moon, staring back with just these black eyes. Like a doll's eyes.
100 bodies go in the ground.
But we delivered the bomb.
None come out.
And as soon as I turned to get my pitchfork, turned back and she was gone. But Jack doesn't believe me. But witches, that's what's to blame for these undead creatures. When I was a kid, I heard stories of an order that once served in this abbey right here. My father told me of the good days when there were knights that walked these streets, swordsmen who could cut through anyone, and they protected us from witches and all sorts of things that are blasphemous to the conservators who saved us all. But no more.
Wiswick's loving this. He's like, yeah, local lore. This is awesome. So these witches you speak of, have you ever seen a symbol like this? Maybe relating to them?
And I do a minor illusion of the swirl of the Pallid King that we saw on the zombies.
And you see he kind of looks at it sort of,
I make it bigger so he could see it.
oh, I've never seen that in my life.
Ever hear of a Pallid King before?
Don't think so. Heard of all the old legends, conservators. Heard of the Wayward One, of course. Conflict. Nothing about Pallid King. No, not heard of that.
All right. I just was asking so Kieran didn't have to.
Now, Jack, you mentioned that these these new type of zombies in the last couple months, yes?
Oh yes, of course, yeah. I mean, we've seen Well, the old man's not entirely wrong about witches, but, it's just folks from town or folks from the countryside who are trying to touch into something old and ancient think they're accessing something beyond, something old from before the conflict, before the conservators, old religions, old faiths of these lands or distant lands. But they're people. They're not what he described. No possibly tall, thin, slender witch of the woods staring out at him. They're just folk. When you find them, they're usually teenagers who've gotten into something bad. And those who are unlucky get into magic. If they stumble upon an old barrow or they're out at night.
So you think that teenagers are doing this?
But he kind of looks over at Frankel and he just says, well, and you can see in his eyes is a bit of like worry and pity for the old man. He's like, oh. And he kind of leans in closer to you, Cal, and just says, why don't we talk about this after dinner? And Frankel rests for the night. I don't want to upset him. And he stands up and kind of cheers to you as he goes and finishes preparing the dinner. As Frankel kind of, I'll cut back to Scarlet and Curon for this. Because they would have been about to walk in, unless they fucked something up. So the two of you are walking across the graveyard over, Scarlet, you've got your fire out. It's flickering. It's all dark around you and somewhat foggy. There's no lanterns throughout the graveyard. There's just Scarlet's lantern, I guess. But then, as you're about, you step up and you're in front of the abbey, I'd say. You notice in the distance a little light appears. Then another one. They're
Did you
just
see that?
drifting.
Yes. I believe those are the lights the godsman warned us about.
I think you're right. I think they are wisps.
Do they dance at all in any way? Do they entice us to follow them?
Maybe. At first, you only see two light up, and they do seem to... They don't dance. They almost float like balloons, kind of floating down and then up.
You'll float too. You'll float too.
And then they start to light up the whole forest. As you can see, there are hundreds of them in the woods. And then they do start to float towards the graveyard.
I think we should get inside, Scarlet.
Yes, I think so too. We don't want to be out here when they get here. But we
And
should
we
keep an eye
both
on the
heard.
graveyard.
As you round the corner of the abbey to head towards the house that you saw, you turn the corner and there's one right in front of you.
Begone, spirit.
Uh,
Ilivania protects us.
As it's floating forward towards you.
I'm backing up and trying to do the backup thing and walk around it.
Huron holds his... Oh.
I need you both to give me wisdom saving throws.
You mean that thing I'm good at?
Ooh, that's not good. I think I fucked it up. That's a 4.
That was a 22.
Oh no! Crap.
Huron, you are looking at this, holding your holy symbol out to it, saying "Begone, spirit." As it's floating towards you, it just sort of almost floats away like a jellyfish. It just sort of. Scarlet, you stare at it, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful fire. beautiful flame, like your own. And you start to slowly walk towards it, following it. Kiran, you see
Kiran
this.
reaches out and says, "The light of Ilyuvania bless you. Friend, stop." And he reaches out, touching her, casting some guidance for whatever that'll do. And also is holding her from walking forward.
Give me a grapple check, Scarlet. Give me an athletics check, Kiran, and then Scarlet, you could do athletics or acrobatics.
Acrobatics.
It's an 18 from Kiran.
23.
I don't know if you want that.
Easy.
Also, technically, you have guidance, so if you wanted to add a d4 to that.
Burn the guidance.
Yeah, right. I would have if you beat me.
Scarlet, Scarlet kind of shoves your hand off, Kiran, and the flame is starting to float away. Scarlet is following. Then it stops, and it starts to float towards Scarlet. Scarlet, you keep walking forward towards the flame. It's still beautiful. It's getting closer to you. It's like this beautiful thing is going to land in my hands, isn't it?
Kiran's going to reach out and cast Sacred Flame on it.
Okay.
Trying to burn it with that hellfire. I mean, holy fire.
What's the DC?
16 dex.
Okay. It does fail with a 7. Actually, wait. Oh, fuck. No, it's a 14.
Huh?
It's a 14, actually. But it still fails. I just didn't realize how much dexterity it had.
I don't remember how much damage.
Scarlet, this thing is floating as he's resolving that. This thing is floating, and you're holding your hands out for it to land into your hands. It does land right in your palm. You're cupping it almost. It's not sitting in your hands, but it's floating there. 8 points of radiant damage.
Radiant damage.
You watch it immediately light up in this sacred flame of Kiran. It burns your hands a little bit, like because it's happening. This holy light is burning away around it. It does not move though. It does not react to the damage. Kiran, it did find purchase. It did get damaged though.
Do I get mad at Kiran for trying to hurt it?
No. You just bring your hands to your chest and push the flame into your heart.
Yeah, at this point, Kiran's just straight up tackling her.
Kiran, go ahead and give me. We'll do a similar grappling situation. Except Scarlet, you have disadvantage.
12.
17.
With disadvantage?
Yeah, I got it. I got
say,
it.
Kiran.
7 plus 10.
Kiran, you catch her. Like you have your arms around her. It's just the she's just resisting so much that you can barely hold on to her. Because Scarlet, suddenly, as soon as you put it into your chest, you can see kind of that flame disappear into you, and you kind of look up just as Kiran grabs you.
Sorry, that was me.
Oh, I was like, what? That's not the song I'd put on. Everything goes dark around you. You feel yourself fall to the ground. Kiran's gone. You're in the graveyard.
By myself.
Completely by yourself.
Okay.
You hear in the distance something shambling. You see no sign of Kiran around you.
Do I see any more of the wisps?
They're all gone.
Okay. What direction is the shambling coming from?
It sounds like it's coming from inside the abbey.
Okay. Are there windows in the abbey that I could technically like reach up and look
You
into?
can't see through them because they're stained glass.
Okay.
But you hear the shambling sounds like it's a very strange sound. It's like the footsteps sound like spider legs. Like that, like a pointed leg hitting the
Yeah,
ground.
yeah, yeah.
And you can hear it dragging something behind it. Fleshy. And it's crying.
The spider?
It's not
Or the-
spider, but it just
or
sounds the
the-
legs sound like a spider, but whatever it
yeah,
is,
yeah,
is
yeah, it's crying.
You
Okay.
can hear it weeping inside the mausoleum, somewhat echoing inside of it that way churches echo. Just
I guess I'll move towards it. I'm not going inside, at least not yet. But just to see if I can hear anything else or see anything else.
It's quite literally the only thing you can hear. Like the rest of the sound around you is starting to dissipate. You look back at the house and the lights are all out in the house. There's no lights inside. Cal and all of them, they're probably not in there. But all you can hear is this crying.
Does it sound familiar?
Nope.
No. Okay. What are the doors of the is it coming from the abbey or the mausoleum? Or is it the same thing?
It's just one. It's just the abbey.
The abbey.
The doors are wooden and they're just slightly open.
Okay. I would like to go up to the doors and kind of try and look through the crack that's there without touching it and see if I could see anything.
When you peek through, it's very dark in there, but you can see there's some of those wisp lights in there. Kind of giving off a dim light. They're floating above the pews. In one of the pews, kind of leaning out from it, you see a figure cloaked in a black cloak with a red scarf and some bright red hair. It's crouched in the pew, just sort of, you can just barely see their head. They're sitting in the pew, crouching down. The weeping is coming from there. And suddenly it doesn't sound like a stranger anymore. It sounds like you. And it looks like you.
Okay, now I'm going inside.
Inside
Quietly.
the mausoleum?
Yeah, quietly.
Okay. As you step inside, it's very quiet in there, other than the crying. You can see the wisps are just floating around above. You get closer and closer, quietly. What would you like to do?
So the wisps are just around Pseudo Scarlet right now?
Exactly. They're floating above her. And they're filling up much of the ceiling. Think about the jack-o'-lanterns in Hogwarts.
Okay. I will go up to the pew that she's in. I won't go in it, but I'll stand at the end cap of it, and just so I see her profile. And does anything happen?
So you're at the end of the pew just looking at her weeping?
Yeah.
You can't see her face because it's in her hands.
Okay.
But it's you. It's a spitting image of you. You hear none of those sounds from before. You don't see any spider-like legs. You don't hear anything being dragged. You just see yourself weeping into your hands, whispering a few things. First thing you hear is, "Why did I drive them away? Why did they leave me? Just like Reese. Just like my mother." Just the continued weeping.
I want to talk to her. Who left you?
She just screams into her hands, and it's a voice that sounds echoes. It sounds like it's reverberating within itself. It sounds like there's several voices calling out at once after this scream that just says all of them.
Do I take that to mean my friends?
Everyone and anyone.
What happened? Why are they gone?
And that same echoed voice, because of you.
Me.
It's all your fault.
Why?
And you see at that point the head comes up out of the palms. And you kind of look around and you can see new things are filling the pews. You peek over into the one in front of her and you see Cal. Dead. Further up in the pew, you see Wiswick dead.
Ugh.
You see Timber dead. Wounds all over them. Arrows in them. You see Kiran dying. Elivania. And then
I
collapsing
go up there.
down. Okay.
Can
Go
I
up.
get to him before he... Can I, like, catch him before he...
As soon as you
Also-
touch him,
Mm.
he is dead. Like his eyes immediately go black as soon as you touch him. And then you hear the weeping Scarlet screech louder than anything as she just screams, "Don't touch them!" And then you can see the cloak start to bubble up around her as you can see these spider-like legs come out and lift the body. So you see these fleshy, pale white spider legs come out, lifting up, and your just body is hanging there in the center of them. As you can see, the face now is just empty, no eyes, black as the void, as there's just black tears running down the face. Just an empty darkness in the eyes. I need you to roll initiative.
Okay.
Oof.
That is a 27.
27. All right.
Are you using my sheet?
No, I'm not actually.
Ah.
But you're up.
Okay. I will take out Caleb's blade, the Acheron blade. I'm gonna hold an action. I'm gonna hold it, wait until it if it gets closer. I want to see what it does first. I don't want to attack it unless I have to. So, but I will have the blade out. So I'm holding my action to attack it if it gets in range. If it comes
Okay.
for me.
It does start to slowly approach you. On its turn, you see like your body that's in these between the spider legs is like a puppet. It doesn't move at all. The hands don't move. The arms don't move. It's ragdoll, but the head is there, like moving. Every time it moves, your head like goes like this. There's just an open mouth as you hear this entity crying the entire time as these black tears do not stop coming down as the legs just slowly just walking up to you, shattering the pews as this entity is pushing your own semi-lifeless weeping body towards you as it comes right up to your face. You're staring directly into your own face and there's just these tears gushing out like black ink down your face as you're just looking at yourself lifelessly. Just do you want to attack it? you want to use your action?
Can I don't want to stab it. I want to can I push it? Push it back with my hands?
You could try to shove it.
Yeah. That's what I want to do.
Okay, go ahead and give me an athletics check.
Athletics. Oh, that's a natural 1, so 2.
You go to shove it, and you just sort of push your own body that just sort of sways there, the head moving. As you can see now, kind of parts of your body slew away from it. As you touch it, your arm falls off, and then your other arm falls off. Slowly, your lower body completely slops off of it. As you can see the body of the creature replacing it, it still has your upper body and your head. As you can see just a massive flesh behind it that's just this pale flesh that's just gray and just bloated, as it just sort of looks to you, and the face slowly smiles at you as you feel. Does a 19 hit?
Yep.
As you feel something stab you in the back. As you can see another appendage that appeared and comes up from the top into your back, piercing into your back, and it is going to attempt to grapple you and pull you in.
Okay.
So give me a strength saving throw.
16.
Is it a Huron grapple? Because then you're fine.
No, it is not Kieran's stat grapple, but you do fail, but you feel it's dragging you in towards it as you're just pulled in closely. You take 18 points of piercing damage and 17 points of psychic damage.
Holy shit.
As it's slowly pulling you in to it, and you can see more appendages coming out that are all coming in and just wrapping around you at this point. And then everything goes dark. Outside. Kieran, Scarlet is struggling. In the real world, Scarlet is struggling in your arms. And then she goes limp.
Yeah, he's gonna pick her up and rush her to the Abbey. Or to the others. They're not in the Abbey. Whatever they're in. The structure that they're in.
They're inside, inside the house. So
Right.
you slowly pick up Scarlet and bring her inside.
Not slowly. Quickly.
I know. What I mean by slowly is you're quickly doing it, but you pick her up, you rush in. This is just about at the end of the conversation you were having with Jack. As
the door open.
Huron just bursts through with what appears to be Scarlet's lifeless body in his arms.
We saw the lights. Scarlet, I don't know. She put one into her chest. I don't know what's happening. She went to it. It went to her. I tried to stop her, but it didn't do anything. I fear that she's passed on. I'm not sure. You, old man, he says, looking to the old man.
So Frankel kind of looks to you and sort of, and you see Jack's eyes go wide, and he says, Frankel, go into the other room, take your dinner into your bedroom. Let me take care of these travelers. As he rushes over and takes Scarlet with you from your hands and pushes some things away from the table and lays her down on it and starts to check on her. He opens her eyes, and you see her pupil and the sclera are all black with shadow. As he's just...
At this point, Kieran is just repeatedly, blessing her from Ilyuvania, which is basically him just giving her guidance every 10 seconds.
Can I roll an Arcana check to maybe identify what type of magic is causing her to be in this catatonic state?
Certainly. Give me an Arcana check. Scarlet, give me a Wisdom saving throw.
Natural 20.
26 on the
Plus a
Arcana.
D4.
Plus a d4 plus 2. So 22 plus 4. 26.
Scarlet, while they're tending to you, actually, let me resolve Wiswix first and check what everyone else is doing during this time. So, Curon has rushed in. Jack has taken Scarlet's body from him, laid her on the table. She's completely unconscious. She appears dead. She's not breathing. She's not breathing at all once you finally get her in here and can see. He opens her eyes, and there is just that black emptiness in her eyes. Wiswick, what did you get in the Arcana check?
26.
With a 26, that black eye makes you think of. It makes you think of some of the stories of Abraxas and of the followers of Abraxas, and it makes you think of the Shadow, and it makes you start to think about some of the things you've read about the Shadowfell, and this seems like something like that, but you're uncertain because you've never really witnessed anything like this, other than maybe some of the shadow magic used in the Underdark. But this appears to be some kind of Shadowfell influence. Curon, you're continuously blessing her with Ilivania's guidance. Cal, Timber, what are you doing?
I would step back. I have no method of assisting here. I'm waiting for somebody to say hold her legs or whatever we need to do. So I'm just gonna wait.
And I mean, and Jack would actually say at this point to those of you who look stunned and like you're not unsure what to do. Timber, what are you doing as a wolf right now?
Timber is seeing this. He's going to be frantic, running around, not running around, but circumventing the perimeter and like checking all the windows to make sure like what the hell like did this. Just make sure like that's not coming for.
Yeah, Timber, when
rest
you
of
look
them.
out the windows, you would see that like they're no longer just in the woods. There are hundreds of little lights all around in the graveyard. You can see like you look up at one of the windows and one just like floats by like a jellyfish in front of the window. Just these innumerable like pale yellow orange like glowing lights. They're not like fire, they're more of a yellowish burning flame. And Jack kind of says to he looks to Cal and says, just hold her down for a bit in case she starts to thrash, in case she comes back to us. And then you see he kind of comes over and Scarlet's head is kind of at the end of the table, and you see him just kind of holding her head there and kind of muttering some things under his breath, in kind of concert with Curon. He says, "This is why you don't stay out after night in these parts, and you never follow the flames. Sometimes they just get you. But if she's strong, she'll pull through, but she's on her own journey here."
Do you
Yes,
know what those...
I have an idea. It looks like she's been touched by the darkness of the great demon bat.
I'm sorry, what did you just say, Wiswick?
It was a cult that existed that was quite popular around my people, worshipping the great demon bat. I think I mentioned it before. Maybe we were in Driftmarch. Anyway, it's not good news. It comes from another plane. I think the surface dwellers call it Shadowfell.
Does that mean anything to Curon?
I doubt it means anything to Cal, but if you want me to roll for it, I can.
Or I guess,
Cal,
what
you're
is... I mean...
Curon,
I'm proficient in history.
Cal, go ahead and give me a history check. Curon, you can give me a religion check. You can use wisdom though.
Ooh. I mean, basically, I would assume the Shadowfell means something to Kiran, but what does it mean in Elysian culture versus?
14.
Cal, nothing really.
Fine. Wizard, so you're saying this is something to do with your people's god? One of your cults? What's going on here?
6.
I'm slow on the uptake when it comes to these things.
Huron, the Shadowfell is known in Elysian culture as a cancer upon Ilyuvanya's plane of existence. You know that lower planes of existence are this is not like D&D's Wheel of the Cosmos, where the lower planes of existence are just their own planes of existence. The lower planes are cancers that grow off of the higher planes, the upper planes of existence, that are trying to consume them. And the Shadowfell is it's sort of interconnected in trying to consume all of the planes of existence in its own way. It creates pox across the spheres of each of these planes, and it is just all consuming force that is attempted to be repelled by all manner of gods and clerics and the divine. The cult of the Rhyme Drake god, the Rhyme god Drake, one of the ones that killed Ilyuvanya. That cult was influenced by the Shadowfell. You know
There's
that
the molten dragon, and then there's the undead one.
Correct.
So that's the
the Rhyme.
undead.
Yeah.
Rhyme?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like Rime or Rhyme?
Rime.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. Sorry, 1 second.
Jack, do you know a way to cure this? Have you seen this before?
Sorry, I said that wrong. It's not the Rhyme Drake. It's the dead Drake. It's Hairfost, the dead Drake.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. Go ahead, Wiswick.
Jack, you said she's on her own. Is there any way you can help her? I might have a method. But you would know better than I.
Whatever it is, I don't think it will work, but you can try. Most folks
Okay.
don't make it.
As a last-ditch effort, Wiswick is going to try to cast banishment on.
I was about to do the same thing.
Yeah, but alchemical casting. Actually, no, it doesn't. It doesn't work with things that don't already have an element. Otherwise, I would just be like, oh, banish her to heaven or something. But yeah, I'm going to attempt to banish her to a harmless demiplane.
Banish her. Or
to
banish the flame within her.
Well, the thing is, I don't really know if it's a part of her or if it's inside of her. I don't know. I can't see the flame, so I imagine I can't target it. So maybe if I banish her, the flame won't come with it. Or maybe if I keep the flame in there for long enough, it'll return to Shadowfell. So yeah, that's my thought process.
Okay, are you going to do that?
Yep. Wiswick, at first he tries just shouting some some prayers that he remembers just from third party things that he's heard cult members preach in the past, and unfortunately he doesn't remember most of it, but he tries his best to reiterate what they usually say to praise their god, and if that doesn't work, he begins to cast the spell.
So you begin to cast banishment on Scarlet. Cal, you're just kind of holding Scarlet down as Jack is kind of holding the sides of her temple. You're all moving around frantically as Wiswick prepares the spell, and you see Scarlet's body just sort of
Where'd you send
disappears.
somewhere safe.
I don't. What? That's a new one. How is
Wait.
this supposed to help her?
Yeah, if you sent her with the wisp inside it, isn't it down just wherever she is? We calling them wisps? Did we? The thing, the
You were
lights.
calling them wisps.
Okay, the wisps.
Yeah, Kieran had referred to them as will.
Cool. Wanted to make sure. Couldn't remember if that was out of character or in character.
You're fine.
If you
What-
just sent her there with it, doesn't she just have to deal with that now on her own?
I hope you know
That-
what you've done, Wiswick.
Cal, there was nothing we could do. She was already on her own.
We could have at least
this-
held her down so she didn't like bite off her tongue or something. Jeez, good lord, man.
Scarlet.
Bring her back! I yell as the camera pulls away and
The camera
Road is
pulls
going.
away, and you get a quick cut of Scarlet floating in an ethereal nothingness, just sort of floating and extended in a demi-plane. In your mind, though, Scarlet, you are in complete, utter darkness right now, and you feel like you're not by any means like you feel alive, but you feel like you're getting tired, very, very tired. Like it becomes harder and harder to lift your arms. You're not, suffocating or anything like that. You don't even feel like you've been grappled anymore. You're just feeling tired. And it's just dark around you. An emptiness, and
The spider creature's not there.
nope. You don't see it, you don't hear it. You do start to see flashes of images before your eyes. They seem like they're appearing out of the shadow. Like you can kind of see, you can realize for a second you're kind of engulfed in smoke. As you see one just, and you can see, it's essentially just an image of Caleb turning his back away from you.
Ugh.
And it's not Crimson Court, Caleb. It's not some brainwashed fool giving you severed heads. No. This is Caleb before the court at all. And you see him just sort of walking in a street for a moment, and suddenly the shadow dissipates entirely around you, and you're there. But you feel so tired. Like you could barely move forward a single step as he's just standing there. He flicks an apple in the air, kind of smiling in the overcast Oxland day. Takes a bite out of it, kind of you see him slowly steal something from a passerby. What do you do?
I try and call out his name. Caleb.
You open your mouth and you call out Caleb, and it comes out so hoarse and tired. You could barely get it out, and you see him kind of turn his head and look at you and squint his eyes like he has no idea who you are. And then it just dissipates around him. And as it dissipates and it slowly disappears around his face, you see just for an instant, standing in the shadow, just barely making out, like they have very dim light over their shoulders, a tall, slim figure. Entirely cloaked in black, except for a singular pale white face, with these black eyes at the center of no mouth, no nose, just black eyes. Before you see that kind of flashes, and you kind of, and with that natural 20, you start to feel your strength returning. Your arms, you can lift your blade again. You feel whole, you feel strong. What do you do?
I still see the figure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I rush it.
Okay. As you rush towards this figure, ready to pounce, you run, and as you go in to strike, you pass through it, and it disappears into smoke, and then all of those of you in the room, suddenly Scarlet... But this is 4 hours later.
4 hours?
She's been catatonic like this for 4 hours. She did come back in a minute later.
Banishment is like, yeah.
Yeah, I will say she
Yeah.
came back a minute later from the banishment. Exactly
Yeah,
the
I
same.
would have held it. Okay.
And Jack would have said this will take as long as it needs to.
There's nothing else we can do. We can't banish the spirit from within her.
I don't think so.
Then we will wait and we will pray. And for those 4 hours, Kieran is just praying next to her body. Until she comes back.
Right.
And
What
then
is
he
everyone
goes-
else doing during those 4 hours? Just
Cal would be
standing over?
sitting, waiting for her to potentially thrash around and need to be restrained. The
Uh,
one job he's qualified for at the moment.
Timber is pacing back and forth behind Cal.
At a
Wiswick.
certain point... Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, at a certain point, Kieran would encourage everyone else to pray with me. Come, sing the Psalms of Ilyuvania, so that she may bless our friend with strength in the Shadowfell, the cursed pox upon.
Go ahead. Yeah, lead us in song, pal.
Oh,
it's like- It's just Cree. It's just Cree.
Alright. 4 hours later, as you are all patiently waiting,
Woo!
standing vigil over her body,
I want to do something.
what would you like to do, Iswick?
Everything.
Can I ritual cast detect magic, alchemical cast increase the range? 1 mile.
There are pox of necromantic magic everywhere you see the little flames. They blind you within a mile around you. They are taking up the entirety of the mile.
Yeah, Sean's
What about
figured out
her?
how to cancel that out.
I mean, she lights up as well with the similar necrotic energy.
What about in the house? Since that's not.
Ta-da.
In the house,
Being
there's
blocked out.
there's one other thing that lights up, actually.
Me.
A necklace underneath Jack's shirt.
Oh.
Necromantic as well?
No, this one is abjuration.
Jack, what's that around your neck?
He's kind of looks at you awkwardly as he's kind of just standing vigil over Scarlet with everyone, and he just sort of. It's just a necklace. Why?
What is it really?
It's just a necklace. It's something that I had when I came here, when Frankel took me in. I was a babe. I don't even remember.
Can I see it?
Sure. And he'll just sort of take it off and hand it to you. Be careful with it. It's all I have.
I
And
cast
he'll
identify on it.
return. Okay. It's not really.
Hey. Hey. Sorry, just setting the.
Yeah, it's great. You identify it, and it is a. You can't really tell exactly what it is. It's not traditionally like just sort of simple, wondrous item. It's all you can really identify is that it is some kind of key. It unlocks something.
This has some sort of innate magical property. I don't know if you've ever noticed. I guess you're not a spellcaster yourself. Otherwise, you probably would have figured this out already. It seems like it's some sort of key. Do you have any idea as to what?
I have no idea. I've never known this. It's all I know is what was left with me when I was given over to Frankel as his foster child. As far as I know, he told me it was my mother's.
Did your mother live here?
For a time.
What happened to her?
There were a lot of questions.
Look, I don't have time to be candid. My friend's dying or dead for all I know. I just
I
trying to
understand
get to
that
the bottom
quite
of
clearly.
this.
If my necklace had anything to do with helping those who've been taken by the wisps, I would have known long ago. I've tended to many folk who've had to take this journey. All I know is it was my mother's. She lived in Summerlinden and she died somewhere else when she left. I think we should just keep watch over your friend for now.
If it's all right with you, I'd like to research this artifact a little longer. If I could hold on to it for just a little while longer,
If it's all
I'd
right with
appreciate
you,
it.
I'd rather not. It is my only possession. I would like it back. Perhaps at another
Wiswick,
time.
I believe it's best to leave this man alone to his personal background, life.
Wiswick
Stick
hands
out
him.
for it.
Yeah, Wiswick gives it back to him, but he doesn't like. He never knows when to give up. He's like,
if you want some more possessions, I could buy it from you. I have lots of gold.
Please,
and I pull out like
please,
tons
gnome.
of gems.
Leave me be. While I watch over your friends, this is my possession. I do not want to sell the only possession I have. And he does kind of snap at you there.
Wiswick
Right,
kind of
please.
just like, yeah, he seems like he struck a nerve and just backs off after that.
You all continue your visual for the next few hours as it is approaching, at this point, midnight, a little after midnight, when suddenly you notice the trembling in Scarlet's eyes before her eyes open up, no longer shadowed. She gasps for air. As you come awake, Scarlet, and see all of your friends around you, and Jack there as well.
Okay. When I first wake up, can I sit up like really
Mhm.
like the whole like
Yeah,
just
you
like
can-
gasping and like
Absolutely, yeah.
sitting right up? Yeah, so I will do that. And like eyes are so wide and she's counting and making sure you are all there. And then just kind of like just repeats counting and keeps counting and making sure that everybody's there. And she's not like sob crying, but like there's like just like scared tears just like flowing, and she's just making sure, obsessively counting to make sure you are all there.
Scarlet, you're back. What happened? Where'd you go?
You were gone. All of you were gone.
Right. Well, no, you're the one that left. Actually, you.
No, you all
You
left
took-
me.
No, you left me, and I tried to stop you. You took that spirit, that flame, into your heart.
No, you
Possessed you.
left me. There was no one there.
No, again, we've been over
We've
this.
been here
We're
to-
not going
we've-
to leave you.
I put my hand on Kieran's shoulder, and I go, "Listen, we've been here the whole time. It was an illusion or a hallucination or something.
You didn't leave.
We've been right here. Even Timber's still here. I say. and
Yeah,
he's-
Well,
as he
Timber
places it
Timber is like his paws are up on the table, just like with his head like on the table, like
Kieran goes, well, to be fair, for a minute you left us due to some of Wiswick's magic, but you came right
We'll
back.
talk about it later. Don't worry.
We've been here the whole time.
Yes. I say, looking at him and like, shut the fuck up.
I can't lie. I have to literally tell the truth constantly. What do you want from me?
to
But
just
Scarlet, you do feel the
Lie,
warmth
just-
of the fire of this space. It is a welcoming feeling.
I hand her a skein of water. I don't. Do we have glasses? I feel like we don't.
There are cups around, but you can.
I'm
definitely just
not
drink
gonna
that.
steal one of Jack's things, so I just hand
Okay.
her the thing that we carry. Yeah.
Okay. Jack would come over to you, Scarlet, and sort of look at you and kind of kneel in front of you because you're kind of like sitting at the table here, and just sort of look up at you and just say, I'm sure whatever it is you saw was terrible.
It was.
And it may have felt hopeless wherever that thing took you. But you have to know that it is not real.
It felt real.
You were strong enough to come back to us. And that you should count yourself lucky.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm sorry for the trouble I've caused.
There's no trouble. No trouble on our account. Happy to help those who are traveling through this area who do not know how to navigate. You will need some rest.
What was that? What are those? Are there more? Can I come inside?
Cannot come inside. If you're out there, they will lure you away. And most do not return. If they do return, they are not like what they were before.
Do I feel any different when he says that? Like, do I feel like my same self, or do I feel any different from before?
You feel the same. You
Okay,
feel
cool.
a secure sense of self.
Okay.
Jack, what you mentioned, do you know anybody who failed this rite or this trial? Could you tell me about someone? Perhaps if you, I might be able to find them using magic if you can give me some more information.
There's no one who doesn't return could be found as themselves. No. I've known many people who've been lost, who have been taken by this sorrow, and they're gone. And some who just die, they just fade away. And those who come back, well, if they don't have the constitution, it can be difficult. After seeing what they've seen, what we've heard, they see. I'm very sorry, my dear.
As he's talking and answering Wiswick's question, she's like, she remembers? Does she remember?
Yeah,
Yeah,
remember
okay.
all of it.
Okay. She's like, as he's answering Wiswick's question, she's reliving it and not looking at anybody.
Huron will attend to her and kind of be like, "You never had any supper. You must be hungry. Did we have food?"
Yeah, I'd say you could have like nibbled as best you could when you through the stress.
Okay.
There's food there. There was absolutely food there.
Yeah, so Kieran will take some of the food, a little cold, but offer it to Scarlet and be like, "You should at least get something in your stomach, and then
I'm
if
not
you'd
hungry.
like."
I'm not hungry.
Right. Well, still calories and all that.
Doctor's orders, I say, like in Kieran's ear-ish.
Doctor's orders. Cleric's orders.
Well, as long as you stay in here tonight, as soon as the dawn rises, you'll be safe to travel again. I will get some cots and pillows and everything ready for you.
I
would
nod thanks
appreciate
at
that.
Jack.
For those at home, calories are little fairies that have Cal's face, and they tickle your stomach and make it grow.
They've been following us around for a while. It's really annoying.
So, what do you want to do now?
I'd say we should go to sleep.
Huron is gonna go outside. No, he's gonna do his long rest first for 4 hours, and then he's gonna go outside.
If Kieran was attempting to go outside, Timber was gonna bite his his clothes and then just tugging at him.
And
Of course.
I'm not sleeping. I don't want to sleep. So if I see him trying to go out, I will say something.
Well, Scarlet, I'll need you to give me a con saving throw.
Yep.
To stay up the whole night.
Yep.
Wiswick's going to sleep.
Like a good boy.
That is an 18.
Okay. I'd say you're able to barely keep yourself awake. You're kind of not falling asleep like a comfortable sleep because you had a rough time, obviously. But it's difficult to keep your eyes open. Kieran, you come awake around this time. You do notice that Scarlet is still awake.
Just kind of like putting your knees to her chest.
Scarlet, have you slept at all?
No. No, I don't want to.
What did you see when you went to the other side?
You all had left me. I was alone. Completely alone. I never realized how frightening that is, and yeah. She trails off.
Child, you are never alone. But now I must do something. Please. And Kieran goes to leave the house.
Oh, Kieran, they're going. Don't go outside.
Something is at work here. I think we need to figure out what it is now, rather than...
Timber?
Timber's ears while he's sleeping. Like, I don't know, do you want to roll to see if he...
Yeah,
hears?
I'd say if he's trying to step outside.
Yeah, are you being stealthy?
No.
Kieran stealthy?
Kieran stealthy?
No.
No.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, he's
So-
not speaking loudly.
So
Kieran, give me a stealth check with disadvantage. I know they're always disadvantaged, but give me one just as like a general stealth check. Timber, you can give me a perception check.
11.
21.
I had a feeling that would be. You do start to hear, like, you would hear Scarlet shouting after him to stop, and you would hear Kieran's armor noisily going towards the door as Kieran is at the door and is about to open it, or is opening it. You would perk up your ears and see this.
And at the side of that, Timber would immediately jolt, dash to his belt or whatever, and then bite onto it and like pull on it and while growling.
Timber, I understand your concern, but Ilyuvanya will protect me in this.
No, Kieran, don't go
There is
outside.
evil at work here.
He's still pulling.
It goes against everything Ilyuvanya presents.
Sean, can I have him make a DC 16?
You gonna try to stunning strike him?
No, knock him prone.
You're gonna try to knock him prone.
Pull him prone, which is, and so it's part of the attack of the wolf.
Yeah, I see.
But instead of attacking him, we'll just do the prone part.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll allow that. So what is it? A strength save?
Strength save, DC 16.
No,
Wiswick
you know what?
turns in his sleep.
Kieran's not even gonna resist him. He's gonna fall to the ground with Timber on top of him.
Okay.
And instead of like being aggressive or anything, he's just gonna scratch Timber behind the ears. And he goes, "I know you're just trying to protect me, friend. But I must do this in Ilyuvanya's name."
Would I have woken up during all this?
Yeah, I'd say
I
at
mean,
this point.
thud
Enough of
on
a
the
kerfuffle.
ground.
This is a kerfuffle,
I would
yeah.
say everyone would be awake by this point because he fell on the ground and he's wearing armor. And yeah, no, you would all wake up. You'd kind of Cal, you've got a knot in your back because you're sleeping on the floor.
Q. Q.
What's happening now?
Yes. Q. What are you doing? And what are you doing, Timber? What is happening?
We're just... Timber wanted some company, isn't that right, boy? Sorry, I shouldn't call you boy, it's a little weird. Though I am, like, almost...
I will unfold my legs from wherever I was sitting, and I will go kneel down next to Kieran, and kind of like take his hand and help him like sit up and just like look you directly in the eye. Please don't leave me.
I was simply trying to assess what was going on. The shadow fell. Where you went, if what Wiswick said is true. That realm is a plague upon the inner realm. It festers, pollutes. The cultists of the undead Drake, Hairfrost, the one that killed my goddess, are directly linked to this kind of magic. I must know what is...
Well, then at least let me come with you, so you're not by yourself.
Oh, we
Remember
can just
last
wait till the
time.
morning. I say, from the background.
When the morning comes, the spirits will be gone.
Can you look from the window?
I can, but I don't know if I'll find the answers I'm looking for.
Why don't you
And
try
so
first?
Kieran, well, looking at Timber for permission.
You could. Timber still has his mouth around Kieran's belt. Gives him keeps staring at him, and then just lets go, and then just walks away back into the corner, curls up into a ball, and just is like, fuck it, and just, fuck it.
Wiswick stands up and says, Kieran, you don't want to do this. You could try again tomorrow. It's not like those wisps are going anywhere. Let's at least give it a day and see if we can find out anything in the town. No point in risking your life now when we don't know anything about what you might face.
I'll face what Ilyvania has for me to face, but if it'll let the rest of you rest easy, I will wait and stand guard.
See,
Rest
this is
assured.
why I like you, Kieran. You listen to logic. I have to cast suggestion and all these other fools. But no, I get to save the spell slot when I'm talking to you.
When have you cast suggestion on me? I say, angrily and a little annoyed.
Never.
Oh, I remember that. That was quite some fun.
Kieran, you standing there, or you stand back up after Timber lets you go. Everyone else, you find your places again. It's gonna be hard for you all to stay asleep. Timber and Kieran's awake. If you really wanted to, Kieran, you could wait him out.
He's not going to. He's going to stand at the window and just look
Okay.
out and see what he sees.
Just checking, because they're gonna have to rest at some point.
Of course.
Oh, yeah, Cal's immediately back asleep.
Yeah, I figured.
This is resolved. Back to bed.
Wiswick's very content to go back to sleep.
Yes. So you all fall back to sleep. Kieran, you study at the windows. You see just innumerable lights, and occasionally they will come by the window and drift over.
And
They
when
seem
they
rel-
do, Kieran stares into them to try to see anything.
Yeah. So give me a quick perception check for that.
28.
28. Okay.
Jesus.
So you can see they kind of have a, especially you can really analyze them as you're moving through, and you can see that when they slow down around you, you can see they've got that yellowish light, but it's more like, and you can kind of see when you get close, it's more like they're pushing light out, and in their core, there's this. Every now and then, you see it flicker, and you can see just darkness behind the light, almost like if the accretion disk of a black hole was completely surrounding it, and it occasionally flickered open, and you can see the dark black hole at the center of it.
Of course, we all understand how black hole physics work.
Yeah, just the light around a black hole.
Right.
But these are not wisps by any means. These are something different.
Okay.
Wisps are just, a different type of undead creature. These are something else entirely. And the only other thing I'll say is you do think back to that mural you saw of the pillars of the cosmos.
I was
And
going to
you
ask about that earlier. So, if we were going to bring it up, in terms of, because you had said that there's the inner planes, and then there's the outer planes, and this Shadowfell acts as a pox on the inner. Does that mean it's one of the outer planes, or is it its own entity?
Its own entity.
Okay.
So
it's not an inner or outer, it's just a...
No, yeah. The inner planes are the pillar planes, which is the celestial plane, the Fey wild, and the material plane. And the outer planes are all of the just exterior planes, individual planes of gods, homes of manifestations of concepts of reality. The things like the hells and the Shadowfell, these are all things that grow off of these and try to leech off of them. The Shadowfell is not like the Forgotten Realms Shadowfell, where it's just a dark mirror of reality. It is more like the negative plane. And if you remember on that mural, there was a shadowy onyx gem that was creeping up onto the pillars in that mural that you would now realize was likely meant to represent the Shadowfell.
Okay. But studying these lights, there's nothing else I notice about them. There's no shadowy figure out in the woods that I maybe spy.
That's a good question, actually. If you're kind of keeping an eye out on the general area,
I mean,
as opposed to, or like looking through. I thought, imagine you were just looking at the lights, looking for the lights.
He would have. I mean, that's the initial, look. But then with 4 hours, there's only so much you can see with floating light.
True. Considering you're doing a full 4 hours, and this is the deeps of the night, with a 28, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you see a figure moving through the woods. It was just walking through. More of a hover than a walk.
How far?
The woods. This is about from where you are. It's actually not that far because the woods are outside of the outer wall of the graveyard. So this is really only like maybe 60 feet away.
Sending.
Okay.
No, I just... Shit.
What's up? You don't know what to say.
I have to think of 25 words. Or, no. It would keep it short, simple, to the point. Yeah. I see you. Cloaked in the woods. Who are you? What are you? Are these lights yours?
Give me a wisdom saving throw.
Love, yeah.
No, that's not coming in. 11.
Huron, having made a mental connection with this entity, you suddenly feel the light dimming all around you and dissipating away. As your vision tunnels to that individual who, as you cast this spell, stops in the woods and turns and looks to you. And you can see the empty face staring back at you.
Slender
His
Man?
face is just blank. No eyes, no mouth, no nose. Just a blank white human face. It's growing darker and darker around you before suddenly you blink and the figure is right in front of the window.
Ooh.
Just staring directly at you. It's less, honestly, it's less Slender Man and more like a very horrifying version of that shadow figure in that what's his name? I forgot. Doesn't matter. It's cloaked. You can't see arms or anything. It just looks like it's a singular white cloak or black cloak all around it with just this featureless face.
Like Spirited Away Miyazaki?
Yes.
Thing? Okay.
Yes, that's what I was thinking of. It's
No
like
face?
that, but yeah, exactly. It's like that, but
Ghostface Killer.
mix that with Slender Man, and that's what this figure is. And it's staring at you through the window right now. You look around the room, and everyone's gone. The fire is basically down to cinders, and it is the yellow flames of the wisps. You can actually see wisps coming out of the fire. And you watch...
What?
Go ahead, you can say something if you want.
What have you done? Where am I?
You watch as it shifts its head slightly looking at you, and then you see an arm creep out of the cloak that is completely white with black fingernails that are long and jagged that take up the whole tip of the finger. And it reaches forward through the window, completely through it, as if it's nothing. And it just touches your chest, grips, and pulls you through the window. You feel the shattering glass break. You feel cuts on your face as you are pulled into an empty darkness, as you just see the shadowy, the glass scatter all across you, floating. You look back and you can see the window. You can see the light inside, but you're being pulled through as this figure has vanished entirely.
Can I cast Dispel Magic on myself?
You can.
Do I need to make a roll?
Yes, you do.
$18.
You attempt to cast this on yourself, and the usual feeling of tapping into Ilyuvanya's magic seems to not work, as nothing happens.
Are you kidding me? You're gonna cut me off from my divine...
You're not actually
Shit.
cut off. There was a way.
Right.
It was just a very high roll.
It's fair.
Suddenly you hear a loud cracking noise. At first it sounds like thunder, and then it's just too loud for that. It sounds like an avalanche, maybe. It sounds like something ripping apart and cracking like earth cracking during an earthquake. And suddenly the shadows start to dissipate like clouds away from the corpse moon above Alicia. And you watch as an entire chunk of it begins to collapse down and fall, and debris falls from the corpse moon as an entire structure starts to break off entirely in every single bit, collapsing down over and onto, destroying Sirathil.
What are you trying to show me, spirits, creature, whatever you are?
You don't see
I know
anything
this is not
else.
real.
As it all breaks away, you see that a central core of this moon is just a single solitary light, like the light of Ilyuvanya, and it just vanishes away entirely.
Yes, I fear she's dead, but I feel her light within me. Not now. Soon that's your magic at work. Release me! You cannot fool me.
You hear the sounds of several creatures around you that you can't see, shambling towards you.
He instinctively goes to reach for his glaive. Is it there?
It is.
And draws it out. He goes to reach for his reliquary. Is it there?
No.
Seems unfair to take Claret's most prized possession.
You hear a voice in your head. It sounds like thousands of voices speaking at once. And it just says, I took nothing. She has left you.
She would never leave me. I'm her chosen. He says, like, doing that thing where he points the glaive out, waiting.
You feel something rushing up behind you. You turn to strike it. Your glaive goes through it, and it just dissipates into shadowy smoke. It was some kind of creature crawling on the ground towards you. You hear another one crawling from another side. And this one jumps on your back, and you look over your shoulder, and it has two heads that are kind of fused together, growling and snarling at each other. Not even at you, they're snarling at each other, and has hooks for hands that are trying to claw into your chest as it's crawling all over your back, and you can hear there are dozens of more of them all around you.
Kieran just shouts, "Get off me! Get off, you vile creatures! Pox upon this land!" And he tries to shrug it off or also just jab it with his glaive.
There's too many. They're all over you. You feel one come up and grapple you from the side, another one clawing at your legs. You are being completely drowned in these creatures. You're just sort of like at the top of a pile of them, essentially, that have all grappled onto you. Reaching up into the air.
As the second one and the third one starts to grapple onto him, he's going to just give himself away to it and just go with the flow, if you will, and just submit to this.
Slowly, they start to all come upon you as you're just sort of letting them take you. You're just the cacophony of growls and the anger in these creatures. And you look up and you hear footsteps moving through them. And you see a light like Ilyvania's. Your vision hasn't faded yet.
At that light, Kieran will, without his reliquary, still try to call upon that ability of, if you will, channel divinity to cast light upon these shadows.
Nothing
or
happens.
cast shadow upon these lights.
Nothing
depending on how
happens. You reach in and you cannot feel Ilyvania's magic, and slowly that form steps up, and you can see them. Pure white clothes, bleached skin, as you see the form of Queen Ayla standing tall over you, smirking down at you. The last thing you see as these shadows come over you is you cannot, or she will not, come to you, Ilyvania.
You are a false goddess. Your power is worthless in her light. As Kieran willingly submits to these creatures, not trying to reach out for Ayla.
Give me a wisdom saving throw.
There we go, 21.
You feel yourself sinking slowly into this emptiness, the growls all around you, attempting to drive some anger out of you, attempting to bring out something in you as you slowly fade away. And that last thing you see is that figure looking curiously at you, standing over you, as kind of the shadow of the creatures over you dissipated into its own emptiness, and that creature is floating in front of you. Before sort of the white of their face turns to bright light, and suddenly your eyes open and you're just standing in front of the window.
About how much time has passed?
Everyone's still sleeping, but the sun is rising.
Looking out, do I see the cloaked, shadowy figure?
No. And you see the lights of
So-
the wisp slowly fading away.
Looks to his reliquary. It's there.
It is.
Looking for that light of Iluvania. Is it within him?
It is. But it's you feel strange. It feels as though it was you could feel the wound almost. A spiritual wound from what has touched you. It's not something that's going to change you. But at least for now it feels strange. And it'll take time to recover. There's a wound in your connection to Iluvania.
I will meditate. I will meditate upon it until the others awaken.
Okay. So you kind of shook a little bit by this. Will meditate upon this, and slowly the sun creeps into the window, crawls over each of your faces as you all slowly come awake. You wake up, largely naturally, but also Jack comes downstairs and starts to go about his early morning rise as he doesn't wake any of you. But you all slowly come awake to the next day.
When I wake up, I would count everybody, make sure everybody's there.
Everyone is there.
Wiswig's preparing his spells, doing his regular morning routine.
Jack begins cooking some breakfast. As each and every one of you come awake, you all would notice Kieran is still there. He did not go out in the middle of the night, but you would notice him sort of meditating in the corner away from the windows. You look outside, and it is day. The sun is rising. It is a nice golden sun, clear skies, no flames around you at all.
Jack, how long have these lights been going on? You
Well,
said
it
you
used-
wanted to talk without
Yes.
Frankel around.
Yes, it's best we speak about it before he wakes up. I just don't want to. I don't want to rile him up. He's an old man. He doesn't need it. But these flames have been coming around for the last 2 months. 2 months or so. Growing and increasing over in the evenings. It's gotten to the point, as you saw last night, where you can't step anywhere outside without running into one of those things. Your friend is truly lucky. There, if you go into town, people will be mistrustful. They are estranged. They don't. Several of them have suffered these losses. And several of them may give in to it, it seems, in a certain way. There are rumors of those teenagers I was talking about. I don't think they're teenagers, really. Just not trying to scare anyone. Typically, I won't talk about this with travelers. I just see them on their way. But you've seen more than most.
Now, did this coincide? Did the advent of these flames coincide with the increase in the undead activity outside of the town limits?
It has. It seems as when it started, there are folk who viewed it differently than most of us. They saw it as a returning of something else, something ancient, a return to older deities, dead gods, perhaps even. Some believed it was our faults. there's a cleric that came through a couple of months ago, a missionary from the capital of the Everflame Church, trying to get us all to unify under one God.
Bah, the Everflame.
Some did, and some think that this is a punishment from some ancient deity for turning to this. There was a new church being built, but construction halted when this all started. It's certainly connected in sorts of ways. I don't know what much there is to do about it.
If I may, the bodies you are burning, Jack. Did you dig those up yourself?
No. No, I don't desecrate these graves. No, those bodies they were either robbed or they came to rob themselves of a grave. No, those retrieved bodies. The creatures don't last long. They rise up from the graves and by morning they collapse back to the ground.
Have you found some that are missing bits and pieces?
Oh, there's plenty that are mutilated. Find them with their chests ripped open and their organs stolen away. Hearts, spleens, livers, lungs. Only one, though. It's never all. The hearts seem to be the favorite of whoever is desecrating these graves. Teenagers are cruel and might dig stuff up. Rebellious, steal some desecrated jewelry, but they don't vivisect bodies and sift through the organs.
No, I do not think this is the work of mischief teenagers.
That mark we found on the undead outside of town definitely points away from that, I'd imagine, at the very least.
Yes, creating constructs of this magnitude. The harvesting of organs.
If you speak to the right people in town, it's hard to get to them because it's hard to know who. The right people will be able to guide you through. But at this point, everyone in town is distrustful of each other because they believe their neighbor is a part of some cult, raising dead and causing nightmares at night.
Who do you suggest we start with then?
Well, he's not usually in town, but Edric is a good start. He's in town. He's a guardsman that's a close friend, and I've known that he is safe and reliable.
We ran into him south of here. He said he was going to be out for at least a few more days.
Jack, I want to ask around town, but I'm afraid that my appearance is going to cause some issues. Nobody's going to want to talk to me. Was there ever a unifying force in this town? Like, was there a religion that maybe they practiced before all this cultist stuff, or anything like that?
Summer Linden is a beacon of faith in the conservators as a whole. It has fallen out of style, but we particularly had a love for the goddess Adria, seen as the mother to the conservators, the guiding force that brought them together to become what they were, and drive
The Shield
back
Maiden.
the darkness. Yes. The Lawbringer. The the falls, the small stream in the falls outside of Summerlinden are called Adria's Tears, and there's a shrine there to the 9 of Adria. There's a man who tends to that shrine and stays there. His name is Ulf. Folk think that he's a bit strange, but he's trustworthy.
The best of them are.
What'd you say, Kieran?
The best of them are strange, no?
Isra is another one you could speak to. She was once the apprentice to Krim, but they had a falling out. She has a shop in the market district.
How big is this town? I don't ask Jack, but I ask Sean because we saw it earlier.
From what you can see, it looks like it's a town of maybe 1,000 citizens.
Okay.
Right.
He said market district, and I was like, how big is this town?
Yeah, it's one of those
big
towns
enough
that
to warrant-
it's one of those towns that has like 2 districts, and they're like districts.
It's got to have some wealth to have a wrought iron fence all the way around.
Jack, I do have one more question. Was there when this all started? Did the flames at first seem to only gather in one location, or come from one area before they were everywhere?
It's hard to say truly because I don't live in the town. I only go there during the day.
But they started in town.
From what I understand, they started in town.
Okay.
There was a night where someone was believed to be murdered. They awoke the next morning, but ultimately they could not find any wounds on them. They thought they were strangled in the night, but there was no evidence of such. And then slowly more deaths occurred. Some survived, though. And that's when people began to know. People began to remark upon lanterns floating in the air. Some even believed it was part of a festival that we have every year. Coincidentally, a festival of lights. It's typically meant to celebrate the zenith, the longest day of the year, in hopes of extending the light as we begin to approach the long dark when days grow smaller, shorter. You know, in days past, last year even, we would release floating lanterns into the sky. It's tradition, meant to add to the daylight. It's meant to be a festival of Adria. So some thought it was a blessing. Festival of Lights is approaching, and Adria has given us her own lanterns. And they stayed out into the night, to not wake up in the morning or to wake up thinking they had died. We're talking about nightmares and their worst fears. Many of us believe that's what's happened to the alderman. The Lady Linden suffered one of these fates, and that's why she has not left her home in 2 weeks. I don't know if there's anything you can do for Summer Linden, but if you can, there's a lot of souls here who would appreciate it.
Is there a tavern or a place we could stay while we're in town?
Certainly.
I don't think we should. I think we should get him on a move on, Cal. We've got a lot of people to talk to, it seems.
Yeah.
If you're going to go to an inn, go to Carvia's Flagon. It's a smaller inn, but Carvia is quite friendly. She shares the same beliefs in hospitality that I do, while others will sneer at you and keep you at a distance because they're afraid your cultists come to take them in the night. Carvia believes in protecting those who travel on the roads, protecting those who are wayward.
Well, thank you very much, Jack.
If you see Huxley in town, please tell him that he doesn't need to come to the graveyard today. Just stay safe.
Understood. Thank you very much, Jack. And then I shake his hand. I stand up and I shake his hand.
Mhm.
And then I go to leave. And on my way out, I don't give it to him directly, but I drop a purse of 20 gold, like on a side table.
Okay.
Jet picks up the gold.
Dick move.
I thought it was for me.
We would all notice that. Your
Yeah.
bat just flew into this fucking
Yeah,
house.
They can't do that stealthily, Miss Wick.
Oh, it wasn't stealthily at all.
Okay.
I bat Jet backwards, take the purse, and still put it back down, and then walk away.
Jet just disappears after the first bat.
You
Wait,
see,
is Jet the bat?
you see
Bat
as
the
you
bat.
all start to leave, Jack does follow out behind you. And you see him he just starts to walk over to the abbey to start tending to his work. Which you can
QQ, where was Robert, Embla, and Rocky during all this?
They were waking up late.
Okay.
As they come out now from inside as well.
Okay, just double checking.
And they are getting the cart ready. So yeah, I mean, he just starts to begin doing typical grounds work. He's cleaning up. He's going into the abbey. Scarlet, you kind of look to the abbey and shudder a little bit, thinking about what you saw inside. Kieran, you kind of are, looking at it. So all of you might look at it and notice the 9 statues above. That during the day you can kind of see their distinctions a bit more.
Can I focus in on those distinctions and make you describe them?
Sure.
I do that.
You could just ask Jack about it.
Yeah, but that's the easy way out.
I know. So you see one that looks like it has a draconic form. You mistake it for a dragonborn in its humanoid shape. The only distinction on it, other than that it has dragon features, is a hammer that you can see on the chest of the humanoid form. You see one that has it's a bit taller, and it is humanoid in nature too, human-like, and it has a you can see it has a on the sides of the head, you can see carved across around the temple are arcs of lightning. I can presume this is Furin, the Stormlord, the new Stormlord. You see one is a elven form with very, very long elven ears that kind of droop in the back. And you see this one seems to have the carvings of their own hands holding their heart outside of their body. This one you're unfamiliar with. You see one that is a female form, elf as well, holding her hands up to her face on her cheeks, just beneath the eyes. Looking closer, the thing you notice that's most distinct about this is the eyes are carved much larger, and each eye has double pupils. You see one that is much taller, similar to Furin, that has a soldier's presence. You see they're holding a spear is their distinction. But then even further you look in and you can see that there's waves almost carved in. They're very weathered, but it looks like their form is made of water almost. Like they carved figures of waves on it to represent water. You see one that is a humanoid male that has a smirk carved into it. And you can see this one, you can visibly see a cloak on the form. you see a female form that has the shape of a fire carved in the center of their chest. You can presume this is Zendariel, the Everflame. Who am I missing on here? And then there's two more at the end. You see one is a female form, human in nature, who has a crown carved onto the head, the temple, and is holding a shield. This you think this might be Adria, but you know Adria is not a conservator, so you're not sure. And then the last one is shorter in stature. You can't tell if it's a halfling or a gnome. But their distinct features, they have a book open in front of them.
Cool.
Okay. So you continue moving through the graveyard, and you take your turn and you start heading up the road. As you're heading up the road, you can actually see that Huxley is up the road heading towards the graveyard, and kind of you see him like stop and slow down around you, and kind of you see him tip his hat to you, and kind of just look up at you. Says, you all stayed with Jack last night, right?
Yes,
Yes.
we did.
He did say actually that he would not be needing your help.
Oh,
Huxley, correct?
yeah, that's my name.
Yes, yes.
You can see his eyes kind of have like a fire behind them. Scarlet, he's a Genasi. Oh yeah. He's a nice fellow, Jack. He's always friendly. Folks
Of
not
course,
so
very knowledgeable.
folks not so friendly back home. They don't like folk like me.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, as I heard that. What do you mean by that?
What do you mean by that?
What do you mean?
What do you mean by that?
You know, I mean, the people in Simmerland now, they're a bit superstitious. Not a fan of magic in certain senses. They don't like when you have certain abilities born with these sorts of curses, some of them would say, but when I was a kid, I accidentally set my dad's stable on fire, and folks have thought less of me since. I think I caused some kind of curse.
And I do produce flame.
Oh yeah. You see, he produces his own flame. He closes it really quickly and kind of looks around. He's like, I don't like to do it too often, though. Jack's real nice. There's a few more of us in town, and Jack's always helping out since folks kind of didn't like him either. I think it's the horns, really. But he takes care of us. A lot of folk know him around town for such. Good folk like him. Bad folk don't like him.
It's good you know that distinction.
Cal?
How old is this kid?
He might be 15 or 16.
Huxley, I know Jack doesn't have any work for you today. Would you, by any chance, be able to help me out for a few moments?
Oh, sure. Yeah. You all seem friendly. If Jack likes you, and that's all I need to hear. I've got all day free. All I was gonna do was helping Jack.
So we are new to town, and we have a few people we need to talk to. If you could just, guide us there, that would be excellent and very helpful.
Of course. I can show you around town. Where you heading to? Who you need to talk to?
So I think first we should stable the horses at the tavern. And then I think we'd like to try and speak with
Well, I thought that our best bet was the alchemist. I think his name was Piff or something like that.
Prim, but I think
Charming.
Istra is the first one to speak with, based on what
agree.
Jack said.
Prim is a woman.
Well, imagine if you're heading to the tavern, and Jack, and you're friends with Jack. I'm sure he recommended you go to Carvey's Flagon.
Most
Oh,
assuredly.
I reckon he's got a crush on her. The way he spends all his time there when we're in town. But she's real nice. She's real nice.
Excellent. Yeah, if you could show us there, that would be perfect first.
Absolutely. Yeah, sure. Come on, come along. I've got a horse to ride, but hope I don't slow you down too much.
No, hop up on the cart. It'll be fine.
And you see he hops up onto the cart, and you see Robert looks at him. And you see for a second Robert kind of like, "Hey, buddy, what was your name again? Pugsley? Oh, Huxley. Huxley. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, don't mess up. Don't touch my reins.
General
Up.
Hugs.
You seem cool enough, but
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this a little longer than you there, pal.
yeah, I've been helping Mr. Cal for a while, and just take it easy."
Hey,
I'm like
Robert!
3 years older than Robert, and only 5 years older than Huxley.
Yeah, right.
Robert, did you hear Huxley can do magic? How cool is that?
Yeah, well, like Mr. Cal says, I don't care for that.
Now,
And
I don't know if that's-
Huxley's like, "Hey, mate, just showing you all around. Not trying to. I don't know what you're worried about, mate." But he's like, "All right, let's just keep it that way. All right, let's go." And the cart starts moving, and kind of takes the front, and you all kind of ride around the cart. I mean, it's not very far. You can see it from
Yeah.
here, and you get to the fencing. It's open. You can see there's a few guards there. You can see kind of off to the distance when you enter, there is that outer barracks there. It's about a mile away from, it's pretty much half a mile from the graveyard. You can see there's just this very simple wooden shack that has a little bit of a watchtower on the top where you can actually see Edric sitting there, and Edric gives you a nod from the watchtower. As you enter into the town, and you can see it splits off into two roads. There is a stream that moves through the middle of the town. There are tall timber frame buildings all around, and Huxley starts to lead you along the left-hand path. And you go through the town. You do see there's a lot of folks all around. They all are eyeing you. No one you pass doesn't stop for a moment and just stare at you as you move past.
I keep a neutrally pleasant look on my face.
Kieran will nod to each
One of these, just-
passerby.
Could I have retroactively casted Disguise Self on myself? Just
That's no problem.
yeah, I pretty much keep the same, except I want to make it so I have like fair, like tan skin, so I don't look particularly magical.
Like you look like a normal gnome.
A normal gnome,
Yeah.
and perhaps I'll have a like maybe on my cloak or something, I'll have like a symbol of the Shield Maiden.
Okay. You note the most distinct thing before I'll just posit you at the tavern and we'll end tonight is you can see, like, standing above the town is a cliff where you can see the only walls that are not just raw iron but are stone, and they're in ruins. And you can see there's just this old fortress there that is mostly collapsed. And by old, I mean like this was probably, Cal, you would know, this was probably the fortress Uthern built here when he settled Sumerlinden. And it's mostly in disrepair. There's essentially one tower left of the 4 towers of it, and the rest are just crumbled walls. And then you see a very richly estate on there, a very large manor that just kind of peeks out like a spike from the middle of this town. And you see a stream that rushes all around it that deposits into a small pond that then has small waterfalls that fall off to a lower pond, which you presume is where Ulf is in that shrine. The Tears of Adria. And then he takes you across a little bridge, that leads into a little bit more rundown area. It is a bit more residential, and eventually that comes to a spot where you can see there is a very small tavern that is squeezed between houses. It's it's got the one door and the one window essentially, and then it goes up, and there's a second floor, which is probably where the beds are. And he just looks at you and says, "I see his carvy's flagging. You're not going to see a sign outside. She doesn't really advertise. She kind of just wants the people she likes to come by. If you can, I'll bring you all in, and you can get your drinks. And she's got a stable down the road that she settles with travelers with.
Excellent.
Doesn't see many travelers that stay, so she'll be happy to have a little coin from your carts.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I'll. Do you want me to stick with you while you're getting all settled?
Yeah. Why don't you just stick around for a bit, Huxley? And I flip him a silver.
Ooh,
Okay.
Robert's not gonna like that.
You see Robert kind of reaches in his pocket and just sort of like starts to like rub 2 gold pieces together. And you all begin to enter the tavern. Kiran, with your passive perception, I'll say you can kind of. What is your passive perception, by the way? 24?
26.
Okay.
Oof.
Yeah, 26.
You would see someone in the tower of the fortress, just like looking down and watching everyone.
The last, like.
So that
upright.
last ruined tower, yeah. You could just see someone's up there looking down at everyone below. Can't make out many details. For a moment, you kind of take a breath in as you're like, is that the freaking cloaked figure? Just because it just looks like a cloaked figure.
Right.
But it's just a moment where you look up and see that, and as you look up and see it, the person, whoever it is, turns around and walks into the tower.
Saruman.
And you look at that, and then you look down, and you kind of, as you're the last one, maybe going into the tavern, you see like there's just people just staring right at you. There's just this cluster of people. There's probably, they look very normal, and they don't look like, they just look like 2 older gentlemen and a mother with her child, and they're all just staring at you, very like glaring at you, really. And then you enter into the tavern. You all enter into a rich, warm, fiery room that has wooden frames, wooden walls. It's very comforting, but it's very small and tight and cramped. There's like 2 top tables really everywhere, and then a bar there and some stairs leading up. And you do see there is a young woman behind the tavern. You presume is Carvia. And as you approach her, that is where we'll end tonight's session, since it is 10:30. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for Advantage in Paradise. As our lovely party, the Wayward Five, have entered into Summerlinden and are going to get a room. They've learned some information about what plagues this town. Kiran and Scarlet had a bit of a fright in the night, and we'll see where it goes from here. Thank you for joining us. Please join us again next Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another episode of Advantage in Paradise. We've got other shows throughout the week. Check out Cardboard Contenders on Wednesday nights. Check out the Relaxing in Paradise on Thursday nights, where I craft and paint and draw minis and stuff. Paint minis, build terrain, play some video games. And then, of course, on Sunday nights, the Tim and Shannon Power Hour, where they will recap the session and talk about different things regarding TTRPGs with members of the community. Sometimes they'll paint minis, like last week. Or was that the week before?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah. So check them all out, and check out all of our other projects. We've got a one-shot coming up with Stefan DMing next month.
This
November
month, it's
21st.
November.
Oh, it is November. You're right. November 21st. So keep an eye out on socials for information about that. Should be really fun and cool. The last one was really successful. And yeah, stick around and hang out in Paradise with us. Thanks for joining us tonight. Everyone have a good, lovely evening. See you next week.